So integration of ISO 9000, 14,000 and 45,000. What are the tips when you are going to moving from 9, 14 and 45 and also 45,001? The first thing which you are going to do is to familiarize yourself. For example, when you are attending this course, you are now familiarized with the new documents, or you can say the standard itself. What are the major requirements of standard? What are the documents you are going to develop? And as we just discussed, that based on your risk which are existing in your company, you are going to decide that which of the activities shall come first, because those activities which we are doing them more frequently, we will be taking them on the priority basis. But those documents or those activities which are required less frequently, we will keep them on the, we need to develop a project plan. So where we can say that we are in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Most of the time when we are working on the consultancy projects, we do in the activities on different phases. Minimum there are 3 to 4 phases, starting from the awareness of the people. This is the first phase where we are going to conduct the training. The first phase is the gap assessment. When you are going to start your activity after understanding of standards, what you can do now, for example, just after this training, you will develop a checklist of documents which are already mentioned in your student handout, learner guide. You will find the mandatory documents for this standard. So make a checklist of these documents and just do the gap assessment. Maybe you are doing some of the activities in some other way. No problem, just mention in your checklist that what documents do you have and what documents do you want to develop in order to meet the requirements of standards. So after the gap assessment, once you will find the major gaps, you are going to make the training for the people. For example, awareness training for the people about ISO. What is the requirement of ISO? What are the requirements from their departments? We are going to develop such kind of training. This training is not necessary that you are going to have it from outside, from third party. And now, mashallah, after lead auditor course, after having good experience of implementation or understanding of a standard, you can develop a small presentation like 15-20 slides, and you can make the journal awareness about the ISO standards. After that, you will be working on individual departments. So this is our phase 3, where we are going to sit with the departments, each of the department, and we are going to discuss the details. We have the knowledge of ISO, they have the knowledge of their process. So we want, the first thing what we are going to do with them is to develop their process flow. After process flow, we will be asking them, okay, if they already have some objectives assigned by the management, it's okay. Otherwise, we are going to discuss them that what could be the objectives. And then similarly, after this activity, we will be doing the risk assessment with regards to quality, safety, and environment for these departments, and write the procedure for them. Right? If you think there is a need to write the procedure for them, you have to ask them, okay, now the process flow is available, so you are be able to write the procedure for them, and then you are going to send them for review. Once they will review, they will discuss with you, you will make certain amendments with them and finalize this procedure. With this procedure, you will have certain formats or the forms. For example, if you are sitting with HR department, so you are going to write about the competency requirements, how the people are going to be recruited, when the people are going to leave the company, what are the documents needed, what are the records needed for them, and then the training calendar, training program, training need assessment, performance appraisal. So for these things, you are going to develop the certain format checklist, and you are going to hand over them so they can start the implementation. So when you are going to sit with the purchase department, so you have to make their process flow. After the process flow, again the same thing, objectives and the risk assessment of their activities, and then write the procedure for them. For example, you will make the document for supplier evaluations, for re-evaluation, for monitoring, supplier complaint, how to do the inspection of the incoming products and material. So these are all with the purchase or procurement department. And then when we are going to sit with the marketing department, we are going to do the same activity again, but instead of purchasing, now our focus will be on the customer, how they are going to take the requirement from customer, how the requirements are being reviewed, who is going to work on the requirements, and then how the system is going to flow, how they are communicate this requirement to the internal parties, uh, how do they know that what is the capability of their system, how much the production they can do, or how much the order can they take. After that, how they are going to correspond with the customers, how they are going to take the feedback, what is the mechanism for complaint management, how they are going to resolve, what is the frequency of management, feedback evaluation, and how they are going to measure and monitor this kind of feedback. So it's not a one-day job, or it's not a 1 month job. Maybe you need one week minimum for one department. So you have to spend the time with them, go and see their activities. Don't think that they know everything. So sometimes the people who are working in the departments, they are mashallah very competent, they are mature enough, and they are going to facilitate you with all possibilities. Sometimes the manager will say, okay, he is my engineer, he will be working with you, so whatever information you are going to take, he will provide you the information. So it's okay. I mean, you need to choose at least 1 or 2 departmental representative as a part of your team. Otherwise, you cannot develop the system. If you will be working alone on everything, khalas, you will be lost. And after 3 months, after 4 months, you will say that I'm exhausted now, I cannot do follow-up, and maybe possible that you are going to leave the company, or you are going to leave this project. So ideally, the first thing you need to do is to have the meeting with the top management, convince the top management on the requirement, make the proposal, sign with them, the resources which you are going to require, and ask them to make sure that there should be at least 1 or 2 departmental representatives should be available with you as a key contact. So whenever, ideally, it should be the departmental manager or the head of department, because if you will be dealing with the top of the department, then it will be easier to make your process flow up to the downline. But if you will be thinking, no, one of the purchase officer is my friend, so let's take him and do the purchasing activities, maybe he will definitely, he is having his own responsibilities, so he will be busy in his own activities, and it might be possible that he will not get the support from his own management. So that's why it's an official work, it's an official activity. So better to start with the departmental heads. So this is how in phase 3 you are going to develop the documents. Phase 3 is the longest phase. Normally it takes 2 months, 3 months time to work on the document, and then you will have some framework, you will have some infrastructure available as far as management system is concerned. When you will be moving to phase 4, this phase 4 will be the implementation phase. Now you have the documents available. When I say phase 4, it doesn't mean that, for example, you have made the documents or the procedure in first week of January for one department, and now you will start implementation in the March. No, whenever these documents are ready, Alatul start implementing them. So once you are going to implement them, you will get the challenges. I mean, they will get the challenges in the implementation, and then they will come back to you, and then they are going to discuss you. So you will modify their procedure, their formats according to their activities and according to the requirement of ISO. So the phase 4 is like the implementation phase, where you are going to, you say that we are going to have the trial runs. So whatever documents you have generated, you are going to implement them for 1 month, 2 months, depending on your urgency of the system. And after that, when you think that now people are mature, they are going to have a good understanding on their procedures and the document, they have started filling the document. Now it's time to have the internal audit training for your people. So you will be having like 5 hours, 6 hour, 1 day training, or whatever the time needed for this activity. You will be having the training for the internal auditor with them, and then make the schedule for internal auditor, make it approved with the top management, and perform the internal audits. After the internal audits, definitely there will be some corrective corrections which you are going to take. And after these corrective actions, now you are ready for the third party or the certification body. You are going to ask the certification body to please come and do our stage 1 audit. before internal audit, you need to do the management review as well. Sometimes you can do the management review before internal audit, and sometimes you can do the management review after the internal audit. It depends on your own wish, depending on the because I would suggest to do the management review after the internal audit, so you can also discuss, because one of the agenda point in internal or in the management review is to discuss the results of internal audit. So once you are going to perform the internal audit, then you can discuss the results of, and then there is another agenda point to discuss the corrective and preventive actions, uh, which are being assigned by internal audit or other than internal audit. So these two agenda points, if you are not be able to do the internal audit, maybe you will not be able to fulfill the requirements of these two agenda points. So I would suggest that you should do the management review after the internal audit to make it more concrete, to make it more diverse, which includes all the data which is required for the management review. And then you will call the certification body to come and perform your stage 1 audit and finally the stage 2 audit. So the most important thing is to have your awareness. The most important thing is to have your own confidence on the standard. You have your own confidence on the system, because if you are not sure, if you are not confident, then you cannot apply these things with others. And that's why most of the companies, they say that instead of taking this responsibility as a one department, we can hire a third party consultant. He can do and he can meet the people. But even if the third party consultant is going to be hired, he needs your support, right? He needs someone as a contact person within the company, like QMR or like health and safety management representative or HSC manager or quality manager, because he is not the one who has the access to your all documents or your own information or to the departments. Nobody in the departments, they know this consultant, right? So it's ideally, if you are willing to do by yourself, you should go in the same way. And if you are having consultant, so the consultant cannot develop that good documentation unless he has the support from your team. He has the support needed by the whole system. So that's why consultants are always very close to the top management. So whatever the requirement they are going to have, it can be discussed with the top management and it is going to be reviewed. Yes, any question?
This consultant, can be show it during the audit as QMR?
Your consultant?
Yeah, if consultant, we don't tell them, the auditor or the any auditing body, that this guy or someone is
During the
consultant.
external audit, internal audit, in internal audit, everyone knows the system. But
yeah, no, I'm talking about the external audit. This consultant can be shown as QMR.
In the old time, it was possible, but now the standard says the annexure and the guidelines, they are saying clearly that the QMR should be the company representative, because this consultant is not the part of company. So the QMR should be from the company. And during the audit, even when I'm a consultant or I'm an auditor, I don't speak in front of auditor. If I'm a part of a company to work as a consultant, I try my clients, I try those people who have the system, who own the system, they should speak. They should speak to the auditor. And whenever there is any problem or they are not going to understand the question, then I'm going to speak with the auditor. Otherwise, I focus that the auditee should speak rather than consultant speak. And similarly, as an auditor, I don't allow the consultants who are sitting with me in front of me that they should interrupt too much. I used to say that we are here for the audit of the client or for the audit of the company, not for the audit of consultant. So if you are going to take them as a part of your QMR, then you need to mention the same in your organization chart. In your mainly the organization chart, maybe he can ask the question, okay, show me the job description of this QMR. So you have to develop a fake job description for this consultant, right? Sometimes, for example, now like this United Warehouse company, I'm their full-time consultant. I have annual contract with them. So I used to go in their company time to time. In the organization chart, we have mentioned clearly, we have issued a notice, or you can say a letter from the managing director, that
Memo.
Yeah, Anas is our consultant, and I'm reporting to the managing director directly. So whatever documents or whatever information it is needed from their side, I have their email address available with the domain of their company. So most of the time they keep me in the emails whenever it is necessary. I'm going to interact directly with the departmental managers. So, but it doesn't mean that I'm the QMR. During the audit, I remain silent. I tried that my other colleagues or those who are the employee of the company, they should speak. And we don't mention in front of the company, the certification body, that I'm their consultant or that I'm their QMR. The QMR is the company representative, but I am the head of this QMR. You can say that QMR is basically reporting to me functionally.
Is there any requirement of QMR to get
No, no,
proper
no,
training?
no,
No.
no.
I'm if we have the QMR, like
Mhm.
previously it was the QMR should be there, one quality manager should be there, and this and that. A technical manager should be there, but now all I think they are eliminated. Uh, but I'm asking if there is any QMR, but is this very much possible? Is this very much requirement that he should be well trained on the
Yes,
standard,
yes, 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 yes.
his competency?
Otherwise, because he is the bridge between the top management and down the line. And if he
Right.
has no competence on the management system standard, then how he is going to interpret the standard for the company? He's the backbone in terms of management system. He's the captain of the team, right? So he must have good competence available in order to make the good control of the management system. Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Paul.
Okay.
Okay, okay,
Go ahead.
Mr. Vakar.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I'm just one more question regarding with this one. Uh, is it necessary that internal auditor or this QMR should be trained by the someone that already has taken with this certification body or assessing body training, accreditation body training already he has taken?
Yes, you can do it. The standard does
Okay.
not ask you any time that you have to take the training from third party. The standard asks you to be competent, right? If you are a
Right.
QMR or if you are a technical person or you have some responsibility of quality or safety or environmental management system, you must show the competence. And how you are going to get this competence? We use a word called CATE, right? This CATE is knowledge, awareness, right? Training and the ability to perform or the education. So this CATE is it can come internally, it can come with the experience, it can come by taking the training. Maybe, for example, you have done the lead auditor course in any of the standard. So mashallah, you are now capable to do the internal audit training for your people. You are now capable to conduct the training of awareness for your people because you have the competence available, you have the experience, you have the higher training certificate available, which shows that you are a competent person. So you can make the training for them, for the staff, for the QMR, for the top management, no problem.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, Paul.
Sir, regarding this QMR, in the organization chart, is it really necessary that we have to put them reporting to the top management, like assuming your top management general manager? So this team leader should be always after the general manager, something like that?
See, there are two different things. The first thing, when we are dealing with the standards, right, he should be reporting to the top management as a functionally. When we say functionally, which means on the matter of management systems, right? But it might be
Yes.
possible that, for example, you are an engineer in the company and you have the manager available, and this manager is reporting to the general manager, right?
Yeah.
For example, the company assigned that Mr. Paul Jacob is our QMR from now, or he's the food safety team leader, right? So
Yeah.
this food safety team leader, definitely he will be reporting to the top management with the dotted line, right? With the dotted
Yeah.
line means that for the matters of management system, he is reporting to the top management. He is the one who is going to prepare the reports. He is the one who is going to have the bridge between the top management and the down the line. But administratively, you are reporting to your own manager. For example, if you want to go for vacation, if you want early leave, if you want to have the issues with regards to administrative, if you have issues with regards to salaries and the bonuses, So you are not going to discuss these issues directly with the top management. You are going to discuss these issues as a part of your who is going to note your performance at the end of year? Your performance will be noted by your manager, right? But in regards to management system, the overall performance will be measured by the top management. So that's the requirement. Standard always emphasize that the QMR, if you are saying someone as a QMR, he should be reported to the top management, and at the same time this must be a requirement for the but not as a part of it's not a mandatory requirement that he will not be reporting anyone to administratively. Functionally he can report to the top management, but administratively he should report to the his own manager.
Thanks.
We have our many examples in our group. We have, for example, Abdurrahman Zugzug. I think he's also reporting to the operations manager, but as a part of health and safety system, he's reporting to the managing director. Mr. Ahmad Rawa, he's also the head of EHS. So administratively, he is reporting to the QA manager, but on the system of management system, he is reporting to the top management. For example, we have Bandar Abdullah. On the matter of IMS, he is reporting to the IMS director, but administration, I think he's reporting to the IMS manager himself. So this is possible. But we need to define somewhere that with the dotted line or by means of a memo, by means of job description, it should also be written in his job description about the reporting lines, and it should be communicated and understood within the organization, right?
Yes.
Okay, so after identifying the gaps, just prepare the implementation plan, which includes the training activity, awareness activities, develop gap assessment, awareness. Third step is like documentation. Fourth step like implementation. Fifth step like internal audit and management review. So this is how you are going to work on the IMS management system. So when the IMS standards arrived, the new versions of IMS came like 9001 and 14001. They were very symmetric to each other because as we discussed that both came in 2015, though both following the Annex Excel requirement for the first time. So it was very easy for the companies to adopt one system and they can go for the second system. So when the 45,000 standard was at the development phase, because 45,000 standard came in 2018 and these standard already arrived in 2015. So the ISO team, they also considered that we need to have such kind of structure, not only the Annex Excel, but on the other clauses as well. We need to have such kind of a structure that our health and safety system can also be integrated easily with our quality and environmental management system. So this is how they have developed the system of quality and health and safety management system. Okay, so these systems are very much you can say that symmetric to each other. Like ISO 14000, it does not state the performance or dictate the design of a management system. It gives you the requirement for the management system to monitor, right? 45,000 or 14,000, they are not the legal standard. They are not going to give you the performance in terms of passing or failing, or for the company's performance in terms of health and safety. But these are focusing mainly on the management system or the design, which can impact on the overall management system itself. Okay, so there are three options available for the integration, right? The first option is to maintain two separate systems. For example, you have one HSC department and one quality department. So in this case, you can maintain 45,000 and 14,000 as one system like HSC, and you can keep quality management system and food management system if you have the food management system together. So this is more easier, right? But if you want to integrate all three systems, it is also possible, or all four standard, it is also possible, no problem. Or if you want to say that, okay, some of the requirement we have partial integration and some of the requirement we have the full integration. When we say partial integration, which means that you will make some common objectives like IMS objectives, like IMS internal audit plan, like IMS management review, like IMS performance measurement. So these things are our partial, right? But when we say the full integrated management system, which means that starting from purchase, starting from marketing and sales department, production department, they are all merged in one system, right? Uh, Sometimes it's good if your people are mature enough, they can manage with the requirement. It's good to have IMS of all three standards together. But if you think that your people are not much mature in terms of the requirements, then no need for to keep all, right? Then no need for keeping all these standards together. We can make EMS and OSHAs like 45,000 as a one system, mainly focusing on health and safety issues, and quality management system and any other. For example, if you have food management system, you can keep it a separate system because it will be more focusing on the business side as well. So it's up to the organization, it's up to the level of the people who are working in the company, how they want to adopt the system. For me, ideally, if the management decides that we need to go for all these three standards, I suggest and I recommend that you should start working on IMS together. When you are making the awareness session for the people, don't confuse them in 9,000, 14,000, 14,000. Make the training for IMS awareness. When you are making their objective, make the objective for IMS. When you are going to working on their procedures, consider the requirements one by one. So it will be more easier for you to make the documentation and to make the implementation as well. There are some advantages and disadvantages of management system, IMS management system. The advantages are, you can see that objective planning and document management is easy. Instead of making three procedures for objectives, three procedures for purchase, three procedures for quality, for three procedures for each standard requirement, it's easier to have one procedure for meeting all these three requirements. Similarly, implementation and operation, because operation cost, when our people, they are not working in the company for your management system. Keep in mind this thing. If they are participating with you on IMS requirement, it is there, you can say that it is their positive point, right? But they are most of the time in the companies, they are not accountable for IMS. You are the one who is accountable. So now it's your own skills, it is the culture of the company, it is the top management who make sure that how the people are going to involve in the IMS management system. So if it comes from the top, then everyone is going to participate in actively. And if there is no commitment from the top management, then the people will always put the argument that I'm already busy in my activities, please, I don't have much time, do it by yourself. And I even sometimes you will feel that the people are not willing to provide their manpower for the training. When you ask them that we need to have the training, we need to have the meeting, please provide the manpower for half an hour, for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, they will say no, they are all busy in their work, sorry, we cannot support you. So it all comes from the top management. If top management is going to have focus on these things, the people will be people are going to be listened. But if the top management is not serious in the implementation of management system implementation, then down the line, head of departments are not going to take this serious. And that's why there is a clause of leadership. Otherwise, before it was only the quality management representative who was doing all the activities alone. But now the standards put the responsibility of top management. And this is how we are going to check during the audits as well. And you as an implementer or as a representative of the company, you will also feel that how much the your top management is serious in the implementation of clause 5. Your internal audit will be easier, your management review will be easier, no redundancies, reducing the chance of conflict. because you will say that we have one authority, for example IMS manager, or for example HSE manager, who is responsible for everything. So whenever you need any discussion, any suggestion, any recommendation for the improvement of management system, you should go to this person. For example, you can declare one manager as IMS representative or IMS management representative. So he will be the whole sole authority to discuss the issues with regards to standards, and he will be the part of maybe he can be directly the part of top management, or he can be the part of middle management and reporting to the top management. Instead of going the people getting confused that where should we go, they know that we have this department or this person available and he is the right person to discuss this issue. Disadvantages: responsibilities of QMS and EHS can be conflicted in some organizational structure. Sometimes I have some examples that EHS section head is reporting to the quality manager because quality manager is more experienced, and EHS department, they have started recently, few hours back. So although the person who is also in the EHS, he is also competent, but since there was another manager already who was quality manager, so he is reporting to the quality manager, which does not make sense. He has to report to the top management as well. The documentation can be more integrated. For example, the documentation will be more complex in terms of meeting the requirements. Sometimes the people will get confused what we need to do, but at the same time there are also advantages. We should see more on the advantages side if we are implementing the management system. External third party audit can be difficult. This is another very important point, and we face it during the audit. Most of the time what happened that during the IMS audits, third party, you have one department or one or two personnel. For example, if we give the example of Mr. Ali Kishavi company, when Ali Kishavi will have the third party audit. So in this case, Ali Kishavi is the whole sole responsible for quality, for the safety, for environment. So maybe possible that there will be more than one auditor who are joined the team to perform the audit. So he will go with the auditor to make the round of the company by the time the other auditor would like to see the documentation. So there is no other person having the competency to face the other auditor to make the audit. So this kind of difficulties are possible when you have one man show, or you have one person responsible, but and the other person, they don't have much information, or they are not much trained in terms of management system. So you will be finding one person, he is going from here to there, is answering the question, and his face is like miskin guy. During the whole show, he is the most miskin guy, because if there is any finding which is going to arise during the audit, the departmental manager is going to call him, why you didn't inform us before? And if everything is good, so the departmental manager will say that, see, we have done a very good job, we understand the system, we understand the requirement, so that's why we don't have the findings available. But we have seen this gentleman during the audit, that he is always here and there, sometime on the phone, sometime on the computer, sometime in the department. So this could be difficult for the department or the representative himself. So this is one of the challenge which we have seen during the audits. Yes, guys, any question? Yeah, we have many steel men. We have Ahmed Mohammed. We have a good team with Bandar. We have a good team with Ahmed, but they are not supporting. They are more focusing on the quality. So now we are going to start our chapter for the audits. So what is audit? What do you think? When the audit name comes, what comes in your mind?
Evaluation.
Evaluation. Very good. Yes. Any other? When you heard the word
Performance of PMS.
sorry, performance of
PMS procedures.
very good. Very good. Performance of. Yes. Any other, guys? Yes, Adil. Ahmed, what
Examination
comes?
of scoring or evaluation.
Okay,
Conformance compared to the standard or to the system.
very good. I asked about this question in one of my training. When you listen the word audit, what comes in your mind? One of the gentlemen told that now we have to sit in the evening time and the night time to make our whole year records. This is the meaning of our audit for us,
Wow,
right?
wow, what a mistake.
So the people are thinking in this way, and you guys are all right that the
But
performance
it's the
remains.
reality. Yeah.
It's the reality. And you know one thing, frankly speaking, as an auditor, we know that sometimes the companies they do, and we get this thing. Now it is the competence of auditor how he is going to prove this thing, that the record which you are going to show him, it's a fake. Sometimes, mashallah, they even don't change the pen, they even don't change the writing, they don't change the signature. So if one person is going to fill the log sheet for 3 months, he's using the same pen, same font. Sometimes the photocopy smell is going to tell you that this is a very fresh copy they have just made. Sometimes
Electronic
you,
signature
yes,
for every
electronic
document.
signature, exactly. Sometimes you are asking the document, and on the other room there is a person sitting, and he is preparing the document, and for each document they will say, okay, we will bring in 5 minutes, we will bring in 5 minutes. So these are some of the things which as an auditor you will know that, but it is your call, it is your experience, how you are going to prove that these records are incorrect, or these records are fake, or this is not the true implementation. So we say that at least during the or before the audit, the companies are going to make cleaning, housekeeping, the companies are going to make walkways, the companies are going to make good housekeeping of those areas where they don't focus on the whole year. So at least this is one of the advantage for the audit, for the third party auditors. So in this section we are going to discuss the definition of audits, what is ISO 9011, clause number 9.2 of these standard principle of auditing, and auditor roles and responsibilities. Audit. So when we say audit, audit is the systematic, independent, and documented process for obtaining audit evidence. There are three things for the audit: systematic, independent, and documented. Systematic means it will be following some requirements. There should be some mechanism available for the audit. There should be the independence. It is not being taught by anyone. It is not being performed under the influence of anyone. The auditor selection, the audit itself, the audit finding, the audit corrective actions, they are independent of each other. And the documented process. It's not an audit said, I have no work today, so yalla, let's go for the audit. It is not a good practice to do this kind of audit. You can do the mock audit, but when you are going to perform internal audit for your management system, it shall always be planned and documented process, which means that audit plan must be there. You have to prepare the audit report, you have to submit the corrective action. If you want to prepare audit checklist for your reference, so it should also be documented. So whatever activities you are going to perform, these must be documented. You need to provide the evidence that you have performed the audit. You cannot say that we have performed the audit and our system was very good and we don't have any finding in our last internal audit. Or if you want to check, you can check with our managers. No, this is not the argument. Even your system is very good, even you don't have any finding, if you don't have any observation, but still you need to have the elements which are mentioned in clause number 9 for the audit, internal audit requirements. You have to develop and you have to execute according to it, which says that you need to choose the auditor according to their competence. You need to develop the audit program. You need to develop the audit report. You need to document the corrective actions, and you need to have the actions taken on the corrective actions. So the whole system will be documented. Whole system will be verifying some requirements. And what is the process for obtaining audit evidence? Our main focus will be on audit evidence. Always remember, when you are going to perform audit, if it is an internal audit or if it is an external audit, your focus should not be on the findings. The findings will come, no doubt. Any of the system, when you are going to evaluate it in depth, any of the system, when you are going to make a good audit trail, you will find the findings. But don't go with the negative mindset, or don't go with the mindset that I have to make the findings by any cost. If they are performing well, khalas, they are performing well. Make the appreciation, appreciate their efforts, and no need to give the findings without any reason, or just ask yourself. Whenever, sometimes when I'm doing the audits and I'm going to raise the findings, the same thing which I used to do, that first thing I write all the findings, and then before the closing meeting I'm going to, or as a part of audit protocol, you have to sit and as a private and just review your finding, right? If you are with a team, you will review your finding, and if you are alone, you will be reviewing your finding, and try to eliminate those findings which are not going to have any value addition in the system. You can make it recommendations, you can make it suggestion, you can deliver them off the record. But when you are going to document something, because you don't know where are your reports going to be reviewed. Your reports are going to be reviewed by the top management. Reports are going to be reviewed by the legal bodies. Your audit reports are going to your customers. Your audit reports are going to your corporates. So you have to write each and everything with too much, care. Your small mistake can make a big trouble for the company. So your job is a very responsible job. You should not take your activities in informal methods. You should not take your activities like casual, right? Whenever you are going to do the audits, the main focus will be on finding the evidence. When we say evidence, it means that it could be a positive and it could be a negative. We need to find the evidence. Our focus will be on those evidences which are going to meet our criteria, right? Which are going to meet our criteria. Because if we have the references available, if we have the evidences available, then we can sort out that how many evidences are meeting my criteria. So it is going to give you the idea that how much the company is implementing the system and how they are going to fulfill the requirements of the system. I have one request to all of you. If you can just turn on your cameras for 2, 3, 5 minutes, because our team, they want to have the group picture. Now we cannot take the group picture physically at the end of training, so we can take the picture like with the camera. Right now I can see Abdurrahman Zugzug. Where is your hair? You are mute. So mashallah, long beard. Okay, sorry for interruption, but I would suggest if you can look on to me. Is it okay? How are you doing, Mr. Paul? After a long time.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, guys, let's continue, and they will take the picture. So we were there for the auditing. So it must be systematic, independent, and documented process. And the purpose of this documentation will be, the purpose of our audit will be to find the evidence, so we can utilize this evidence in order to make the system requirement, if in order to check that how the system is going to meet the requirements of 9000 or the safety or the quality, right? And what to do after that? After finding the evidence, evaluate it objectively. We are going to write the report. We are going to give the finding about how much the system is implemented. We are not going to write the report about that how much you have the findings. We are going to submit the report on that how much extent you as an organization or as a department, you are going to meet with the requirement of standards. So audit, clear? And this definition, it came from 19,011, which is the standard for our auditing activity. So audit evidence. What is audit evidence? Proof of the audit. This audit evidence could be the record, statement of fact, or other relevant information to the audit criteria, right? When we say relevant to the audit criteria, so it must also be, it must also be verifiable. It must also be verifiable. We cannot say that we have the audit evidences available, but these are not verifiable. If these are not verifiable, if you are not be able to verify these requirements, then this cannot be an evidence. During the audit, you will find many evidence, right? You will find the evidences like in terms of, if you are doing the audit for QMS, you will find the safety violation. You are doing the audit of health and safety, you will find the violations of environmental management system. You are doing the audits of quality management system, you will find the findings of any other, common sense requirements. So these are not be able to evaluate under the criteria for which you are going to perform the audit, because maybe you will find 100 evidences during the audit, but once you are going to evaluate these evidences against the criteria, there are only 20 evidences which you have made, because during the audit we will be having too much discussions. We will be having we will see many of the requirements of the processes, the activities. So it might be possible that all of these are not meeting our criteria. So whatever requirements we are going to meet, we need to show that what are the activities which are going to happen. So audit evidence should be record, statement of fact. When we say record, which means that it could be a form, it could be a report, it could be anything which is verifiable. A statement of fact, very important. Statement of fact, which means the interview. When you are going to perform the interview with the people, it could be the interview, it could be your own interview, it could be the information which you are going to have from the other people during the audit. This is also your evidence. The activities which you are going to see, for example, if they are not following the requirement of PPEs, you are not going to make the interview. It is not mentioned in the document, but you can see from your eyes, you can see clearly that they are not meeting the requirements. So in this case, this audit evidence is like our verifiable, and we need to have focus on audit evidence. This again definition, it came from 19,011. Then what is the audit criteria? Because when we are going to find the evidences of the audit, we need to evaluate this finding, or we need to evaluate this evidence against certain criteria. So what is the criteria? The audit criteria is the set of requirements. For example, in your case, when we are going to perform IMS audit, our requirement will be ISO 9001 standard, ISO 14001 standard, ISO 45,000 standard, legal and other requirement, and company own policies and procedure which are going to fall under these standards. So audit criteria is our basically ISO standards, procedures, and legal requirements. If sometimes these requirements are, for example, legal requirements are not the directly part of 9,000 or 14,000, 45,000, but these are the part of our health and safety system. So we need to include these things as a part of our audit criteria. Clear? Any question in audit evidence, audit criteria, and audit? Because these are the terminologies which we will be using, in future slides.
Can you go back to audit criteria?
Audit criteria is the standard.
Okay.
The standard for which you are going to perform the audit. This is our audit criteria, right? So now let's move to ISO 19011 major requirement. For example, this 19011 is going to provide the guidelines on principle of audits, management audit program, performing the audit, competence of auditors. 9,001 is standard, 14,001 is standard, 45,001 is standard. They are all requiring you to perform the internal audit. They are all requiring you to perform the external audit if you want to go for the certification. So how to perform the internal audit, it is not mentioned in these standards. It is not mentioned the criteria that the activities which we are going to include in the internal audit, it is mentioned in these standards. But how to perform the audit itself, what are the principle, what are the competencies of auditor, these are not mentioned in these standards. So that's why we are following 19,011 requirement, and the latest version for this 19,011 requirement is 2018. So principle of auditing, whenever you are going to perform any job, you have certain principle available. So the first principle for the auditing is to integrity. Very important. As an auditor, you need to maintain the integrity at all levels. When we say integrity, it means that you are going the right practices even if nobody is going to see. Because, for example, tomorrow you will be doing the third party audits, so you will be going in the organization as alone, right? Your company doesn't know that what are the activities you are going to perform during the audit in that organization. So in all cases, we need to maintain the integrity, because if the integrity is not going to meet, then nothing is going to meet. When you are going to perform the audits, you are going to meet the people. Sometimes you have different cases comes across. Sometimes the positive things, sometimes the negative things are experiences are also possible. But in all the cases, your integrity is very important. I know many of the clients, they said that we are dealing with one organization because we know that our products are confidential, our information is confidential. So even we are not much satisfied with our certification body, but we are having the same certification body because we don't want to share our information with many parties. So sometimes the organization are going to trust you in this level. Sometimes the organization says that we need this auditor, Mr. X auditor we need, because when he is going to perform the audit, it seems that he is a very professional and he is going to give us very good finding. Sometimes the organization said that if you have a junior auditor, or that auditor is going to give many findings, but the organization realized that many of these findings are not making any improvement in their system. So they say that we need the same auditor which used to come before, or we need the experienced auditor. So with the passage of time, you are going to have the first document when you are going to join any of the certification body which is going to be released. It is for the confidentiality. It is for the integration, that you have to follow the requirements of integration at all the times. Then we have fair presentation. Fair presentation, as you can see from the word, it is quite clear that you have to be fair. Whatever record you have seen, whatever interviews you have done, whatever evidence you have seen, it should be reflected in your report in the correct manner. When we say in the correct manner, what does it mean? It means that if it is an observation, keep it as an observation. Don't try to make it non-conformity. And if it is a non-conformity, don't try to make it observation. If the issue is small, keep the issue small. Don't think that since you are an auditor, so you can do anything. It's not the case. Sometimes during the audit, the auditors get personalized, right? For example, if they see sometimes that the auditee is asking too many questions, or they are not going to agree with their point of view, they get personalized. So they are going to put many things as non-conformities. They are going to put many findings all together, which is not a good practice, which is highly a non-professional activity. You as an auditor, you should avoid this kind of activities during your audit. So whatever the level of the finding, whatever the level of the requirement is, you have to present the same level in your reports, in your findings, and during your discussion. Due professional care, very important. As an auditor, you are, mashallah, you are all companies, most of you are working in the companies which are already certified. So you will see that whenever the auditors are coming, there is a protocol in whole organization. Everyone is ready. Everyone is, as a company, as a management, as an employee, we are physically and we are mentally prepared to deal with the auditors. So you are like an icon, right? You are like an ideal person in the company when you are going to perform the audit. So everyone is observing you. You will see that during the opening meeting, there are all head of departments are available in the opening and closing meeting of the audit. During the audits, when you are doing the audit of one department, you will find that 3, 4, 5 people are watching you. They are facilitating you. So you have to maintain your professionalism at all the time. Sometimes you will find that, oh, he's our old client, so I should be very casual, or he is my friend, or he is my relative, so I should be very casual. No, this is not the case. At the time of audit, you are an auditor. See, sometimes the certification bodies, they maintain the professional care in such a way that even we are meeting with another auditor, we are not going to say that where I was going last week, what were my clients and what were their findings. These kind of activities we are not going to discuss. These are an unprofessional attitude. This is an unprofessional attitude from the auditors. Similarly, the auditees should also be very professional during the audits. Confidentiality. Sometimes the companies, they ask you before the audit, please sign the confidential letter, the letter of confidentiality, that whatever processes, information you are going to see within our company, it will remain. It is also a part of agreement. When you are going to make the third party agreement, this is also the part of that agreement, that the third party or the certification body who is going to perform the audit, they will keep the information confidential. For us, for example, we are going to many of the competitors at the same time. So if I'll go to Coca-Cola and I'm going to give the secrets or the confidential information about the Pepsi to them, and Pepsi to the Coca-Cola, or Aramco to their competitor, and their competitor to another company. So where is my integrity? Where is my professionalism? So these are all going to be destroyed, and at the same time it will be also impacting on my company itself. So we need to be very confidential when we are dealing with the organization, especially in terms of their findings. These are not, and during the opening and closing meeting, you also make this commitment that whatever information we are going to see here, it will remain confidential between the certification, or within the certification body and the client itself. And we are not going to share this kind of information to anyone. Then we have independence. Whenever you are going to perform the audit, it should be an independent audit, right? Independence. See, sometimes you are going to perform the audit with the team. Sometimes you are going to perform the audit as a single person. So if you are dealing as a team, if you are dealing as a single auditor, in all the cases, you need to maintain your independence, right? You should have the decision-making capability. You should be mature enough to deal with the scenarios, the information, how you are going to get the information, and how you are going to materialize this information in order to make your audit more smooth. So your independence should always be there. Sometimes in the internal audit, we have this kind of issues. For example, that the manager is not having the much information about the standard. So that manager is not being chosen as an internal auditor, but the engineer who is working under him is going to be chosen as an internal auditor. So in this case, if this engineer is going to do the audit for any of the head of department who is having 30 years of experience, and that engineer is having 5-10 years of experience, so there is always a sort of pressure on him. Sometimes these kind of departmental head, they are going to say that how you are going to do my audit? You are the age you have, I have the experience like that, right? So these kind of comments are slight, you will find everywhere in the organization, but it doesn't mean that you are going to give up these requirements. If you have knowledge, if you have the competence available, you can do the audits, and you should be confident on your capabilities. This is very important. Otherwise, if you will come under pressure, you cannot do your audit in a correct way. Evidence-based approach, very important. Evidence, evidence, evidence. As we discussed already, that our audit is being performed to find out the evidence. The main purpose of audit is to find out evidence. What is for evidence for what? Evidence for conformity. If you will go to find out the evidence for non-conformity, then even you are not be able to see the good practices of the organization. You will not be able to see what are the good things about them, how much the extent they are going to follow the standard. So always go to check that how much they are following the standard. So if there is any negative thing, if there are any gray areas, if there are any weak areas, you will know them, and you are working on these things, and it will be much easier. So evidence-based approach is very necessary. Remember, it is also a quality principle, evidence-based approach. So it is also a our audit principle that we need to have our evidence-based approach available at all the time. Then risk-based approach. Again, risk-based approach. This risk-based approach, it could be in terms of our selection of department, in terms of our selection of activities, sample size, whatever we are going to perform the audit, we need to select the activities in such a way that it should follow the requirement of risk-based thinking. Because if we are going to put too much time for the warehouse audit, and due to this warehouse audit, if your time is going to be wasted, and due to this warehouse audit you will have less time for the production department audit, then it's useless. For example, you have multi-site audit, one side which is least important, you are going to spend too much time in that side, and those sites which are most important, which have more critical activities, you are going to reduce the time for these things. So it will not be a justified, it will not be a good practice. So as an auditor, you need to follow the risk-based approach. So you should know that where I have to spend more time, right? Any question about the principle? Yes, guys. So during the internal audit, what is the purpose of our internal audit? Our purpose of internal audit to check if the planned arrangements are up to the mark. We need to check if the requirements are going to be met. We need to check if the how the management system is going to operate. Because if the management system is not effectively implemented and maintained, then our management system is going to be fall. If we are not going to perform the internal audit, how do we know that how our management system is going on? If we are not going to perform the internal audit, then how do we know that where are our gaps? And if we are not be able to find these gaps during the internal audit, then definitely these gaps are going to be found in external audit, and that is more, that is more, you can say, embarrassment for the company. So our internal audit, and again, internal audit will be based on our importance of our process. This we already discussed in I think 2-3 days before that, how we are going to select. Again, keep in your mind risk-based thinking. Risk-based thinking, the more important topics, the more important departments, the more important activities you will be auditing more frequently, and the less important departments or non-technical departments, you will be doing it with less frequencies. It also depends on previous audit result. For example, one of the department has too many findings in the last time, even if it is not the technical department, but it has too many findings during the last audit. So now it's better to perform the audit for this department more frequently, until unless the people in this department, they get mature. Impact of changes, if there are any changes in the production line, if there are any changes in the processes or the system, in this case we are going to take this process in our audit as well. Sometimes you are going to add some new department, sometimes there is a modification in the existing department. So in all cases, we are going to take these requirements when we are going to consider that how our audit program should be, how we are going to perform the audit. On the basis of these things, you are going to implement your audit. And audit criteria and in scope, definitely if you want to take one standard, or if you want to take all three standards as a part of your audit scope, audit criteria you will take, and audit scope is which of the boundaries, which of the sites, which of the projects. For example, if you are working in a multi-site company, so you are going to decide that what are my requirements, which of my sites are under the scope of this IMS management system or the quality or the safety management system. So you can derive the audit plan according to those requirements. When we are dealing with internal auditors, our auditor should be objective, impartial, very necessary. It's a requirement of standard 9,000, 14,000, 45,000 that the auditor should be impartial. We need to perform the audit on objective basis, on objectivity. Objectivity of the audit should be maintained at all the time. A departmental manager cannot perform the audit of his own department, or the departmental engineer cannot perform the audit of his own department. So must be a cross function. For example, production will do the audit for quality, quality will do the audit for warehouse, warehouse will do the audit of another department, purchase will do the audit of customers. So we need to maintain the objectivity and impartiality during the audit. Records of audit and result to be maintained all the time. Definitely, as we already discussed, that we need to maintain the evidence about audits, the audit reports, the corrective actions, the audit notes which you have used during the audit. The corrective action which are being identified, we need to make the corrective action on them, implement those corrective actions as soon as possible, and follow-up activities, verification of the action taken, and the reporting of verification result. So these things we are also going to discuss in the detail about corrective action, follow-up, report writing, and verification of the actions taken. Yes, any question?
Even in the internal audit, it is mandatory to cross-departmental audits.
Yes. Otherwise, what is the benefit of audit? If you are doing the audit of your own department and you have developed your own policies and procedures, how you are going to perform the audit?
So if we have segregated the person for internal audit, his work is only to perform the audits, and he is also getting training from the other IMS guys like that.
It's okay. I mean, you can have all of your department, all of your employees who are working in the company can be trained on IMS. But the thing is that if he is going to perform the audit of his own department, then there is a chance that he will be under pressure. He is not going to make the audit on the basis of objectivity. That's why you need to have different. Sometimes, for example, the companies who have a small number of employees or management staff, we say that, okay, in this case, you can hire any consultant who can do your audit, and you will be doing the audit for other departments. The top management can perform the audit of that manager who is responsible for implementation, and this manager can perform the audit for all. But from the same department, for example, if you are working in a quality department of the laboratory, so the laboratory employee or staff cannot perform the audit of laboratory. There should be someone from outside. Yes, it might be possible that you are going to choose the team who have the certain background of your own department. This is a good practice. I mean, ideally, it should be like this. For example, if you are going to perform the audit of production,
He will be actually expert in that.
Yeah. If you are going to perform the audit of production department, quality department, so ideally the lead auditor should have the competency that he should understand the process. He should understand the process of quality, process of production. Yeah, if he is already experienced employee in this kind of activity, then it's much better.
Actually, I am correlating with another NX Excel ISO IEC 17025. Almost every clause is more or less same, like 9001 and 14001, especially with the 9001 of quality. But in the case of 17025-2015, the internal auditor could be from the same department, because he is the one, because it is the departmental, it is the laboratory management system.
Yeah, because you are implementing the whole standard within one laboratory. So in this case, it's possible. Definitely. How you are going? Why? I mean, I would ask you the argument that if you are implementing 17025, why you are going to train your warehouse people in this 17025? Definitely, you will be focusing on one laboratory, their own people. So they are the one family, and they will be doing the audit for them separately. Ideally, there must be another person outside from the laboratory But if you don't find any competent person who have the good understanding of your management system and the laboratory operation, then it could be someone. But when we are dealing with 9, 14 and 45, we are working on the organization wide. We are not dealing with one department or two departments. So that's why we need to have the auditors which are not in the same department. We need to maintain the impartiality, and the audit should be performed on the basis of objectivity, right? Any question? Can we take a 5 minutes break, or it's okay?
Organization can hire a consultant to perform an internal
Yes,
audit also?
yes. I'm available all the time. Most of the time companies, they do that, they wake up before the external audit and they call us that please come and do the audit, and the whole year they are sleeping, mashallah. So it depends. If they don't have the lead auditors available, for example, if they don't have the much internal auditors available, they have a small IMS department and they have the more department which they have to perform the audit, so they can take the help from external consultant, no problem. Okay guys, let's have a 5 minutes break, and if you want to turn off your camera, you can turn off your camera. I think they have taken the picture. See you after 5 minutes. Now our next topic is about the corrective action and correction. What is correction? The action which you are going to take just after the non-conformity is our correction. Sometimes the people, they think that this is corrective action, but this concept is quite wrong. The action which is the immediate action after the non-conformity is detected, we are going to take, it's our corrective action. It's our correction, not the corrective action, right? So action, what standard define that action to eliminate a detected non-conformity is our correction. And what is the corrective action? Action to eliminate the cause of a non-conformity. See, the cause, when we are working on the root cause, Mr. Moise told me to use this. Okay. When you are working on the root cause, then in this case, when you are going to eliminate the actions, the cause of the detected non-conformity, we call it corrective action. Because when we are going to take the immediate action, we are working on the correction. For example, I used to give very common example of changing the bulb. If the bulb has been fused and you are going to change this bulb, in this case, you are going to remove this bulb and you are going to change this bulb. But it might be possible that after some time, again this bulb is going to be fused. Why we are going to have the same issue? Because we only took the correction. We did not take the corrective action. The corrective action is we need to take the actions in such a way that we will do the root cause analysis. We will make an action plan that we need to have the survey or the inspection of all the bulbs available with periodic frequency. So any of the bulb whose life is going to be reduced, is going to be expired, is going to be fused. So we are going to change it to avoid any of the breakdown in the system, or to avoid any of the possibility for any error or any of the accident. So similarly, in terms of environment, for example, you have the acid spill and you are going to clean this acid spill. This cleaning of acid spill is the correction, not the corrective action. You are going to have an accident and you are going to make the bandage for this first aid case. This is the corrective action. This is the correction. The corrective action is to take the reason why this spill or why this first aid case has arrived, and maybe today it's a small spill, today it's a small injury or minor injury, and tomorrow it could be a major injury. So we need to do the root cause analysis, and then we need to perform the actions in such a way that they are not going to be repeated. So the actions to eliminate the cause of a detected non-conformity or other undesirable situation. So we need to take the corrective action. When we are going to perform the audit, we are going to take the corrective actions. When we are going to perform the audits, we are going to have we are going to identify the corrective action. We are going to identify the corrective actions, and so the people can take the actions on it. The departmental head, they are going to give us their root cause, and we are going to review, and once we are going to agree as an auditor, then they can implement those corrective actions, right? So don't mix correction and corrective action. Before, in the old versions, there was another terminologies used with the corrective action is called preventive action. So now this preventive action has gone to the where? Where is the
Continuous
preventive?
improvement.
No, 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 no. This preventive action is gone where? Very good. This is gone in our risk assessment. This is gone in our risk-based thinking. You know, all the possible risk, all the possible hazards we need to identify before when we are going to start our activities. So there should be very less chance for the control failure. There should be very less chance for the breakdown. So that's why all standard is now risk-based thinking. So you need to think before do the activity. You need to think about the risk before do the activity. So this is our risk-based thinking. Now the preventive actions are moved to clause number our 6.1. The controls on these corrective on these preventive actions or the risk assessment are moved to clause number 8.1. So that's why there is no word in of the preventive action in the clauses so far. Auditor responsibilities. When you are doing the audit, it is your responsibility that you need to review the documents, you need to comply and communicate audit requirements. Very important thing that when during the audit, if you are not be able to comply and communicate the audit requirement, you will not be able to have the evidences, right? You will not be able to have the evidence, and if you will not be able to have the evidences, then you cannot compare with these evidences to your criteria. And if you are not be able to compare your audit evidence with your criteria, then what will happen? You will not be able to conclude your audit. So you will be just wasting your time. So review of the document is one of the requirement. Very good. It should be done. Definitely when you are doing the audit, you will be doing. But comply and communicate audit requirement is also very necessary, and I would say it is more necessary than review of the documents. Stay in scope. Don't involve in girgir, right? Don't involve in argument. Don't involve in discussions in your old friendships, in your political or religious or current affair issues. You should be stay in the scope. When we say scope, it contains the criteria, it contains the boundary of your audit. So if you are doing the audit of one standard, don't try to fly on the second standard. If you are doing the audit of two standards, don't try to go for the third standard. You need to stay in the scope. You need to perform the audit within your limited timeline. You don't have unlimited time. So your audit time should be the minimum, and your audit time should be should be a fruitful time. Collate evidence with your audit criteria. Document the non-conformities. Whatever non-conformities it will come against the audit criteria, you need to document them. You need to inform them. Report the findings, whatever findings are coming. If it is a positive finding, if it is a negative finding, you need to report those findings. If they are doing some good activities, you should mention them. You should perform. You should speak. You should write in the report that these are the good practices or these are the positive findings. And if they are negative activities or they are having the gray areas or weak areas or non-conformities, the same should also be mentioned in the report. The same should also be communicated. Then we have safeguard the document. Very important. Sometimes, see, when you are doing the audit, you will have too many documents with you. You have asked one departmental representative to bring this report, and he will bring the report when you are doing the audit of another department. So you will say, okay, keep it with me, or I will take the report and we will discuss it again. So by the end of audit, most of the time we have seen that your folder, which you have the notepad or the folder which you are using, it is full of documents. So to safeguard these documents are very necessary. Don't ever try to take these documents to your home or to make the copy, because these are all the confidential information of the company. Sometimes I have seen the auditors, when they are leaving the site, they ask the companies to please check my bag. they make sure that all their notes, all their folders are free from any of the company document. So just for the this is a rare activity, but the auditors sometimes they do it. They ask the client directly, please check my bag and check my other document, that if there is any document which belongs to you, please take it with you. Sometimes in case if you have taken by mistakenly, no problem, inform the company later on and ask them, if you want to have this report, then I can share this report, I can send this report to you, or if you don't want, then I can shred it, I can destroy the report. So because these are useless for you, but it might be possible that it's very important information about the company, so don't try to take. And when you are a frequent auditor, every week you are going to do 2-3 audits, so there is a chance that these kind of documents can be mixed with any other company. So ideally, you should, when you are going to perform the audit, you should check your own documents, and when you are leaving the sites, you should again check yourself. Any question? Okay, conducting an effective process-based audit. How we are going to conduct an effective or process-based audit? First thing, what we are going to do, we are going to have the meeting. Most of the time, this is the marketing team who are going to do the meeting with the client. They are going to submit the proposal. They are having communication on, for example, regarding to the site, the activities, the financials. They are going to submit the proposal. The company is going to submit the company is going to approve the proposal, and then from here the activities started. These activities are, as I told you, sometimes these are not being performed by you as an auditor. This will be performed by your team, back office staff, operations staff, or your marketing department. They are going to meet, they are going to have the overview of processes, and then it will come to you. So you will see that what are their key processes. They are these people, for example, the company representative and the certification body representative. They are going to discuss about the scope of the audit, and they finalize one scope, whatever, if it is a single site, if it is a multi-site, if they are going to take all the documents, if they are not going to take if they are going to take all the processes in the audit, if they are not going to take all the processes in the audit. So this is how they are going to do the agreement on the scope. And then here you are going to start your activities. For example, you are going to understand the sequence of activities when you are going to make the audit plan for the company. Sometimes you as a lead auditor, once you are being assigned by your certification body that you are the lead auditor for this activity, you are going to discuss these activities with the company representative, that please share the list of your major documents or major departments so we can draft our audit plan. Sometimes these all activities are already available in your proposal document or agreement document which you have with the company, and you take this information from that agreement and you are going to make the audit plan and you are going to submit to the company. So if the company, they are going to have any question, concern, they can bring back to you and they can discuss with you. After that, when you are going to perform the audit, before performing the audit, you need to develop your checklist. Very important thing that we need to have the checklist available. Checklist is a very good tool. How we are going to establish the checklist, we will discuss later on. And when you are going to perform the audit, identify the improvement, identify the CARs, identify the corrective actions, identify the positive points, and definitely, since as we discussed that audit is a documented process, so we need to issue the audit report as well. After that, we are going to do the closing meeting where we are going to perform the to present all of our findings. And after the closing meeting, again, your job is not finished as an auditor. You are the responsible to follow for the corrective actions. If you are working you are doing the internal audit, and then it is easier for the follow-up because you are working in the same company. You are meeting those people, those manager time to time. Maybe you are having meetings with the management as well to discuss. These cards are being sayar, cards sayar. Pesh mushkil. Cards are sayar. Cards are corrective action request. Okay. Cards are corrective action request. Okay, so we need to follow up until unless they are going to implement the corrective action, because they are going to show you the actions. They are going to show you the actions. You are verifying those actions, and after that you will give them go ahead. Okay, now you can take the actions on the findings. So they will take the findings, they will take the corrective action. And during the second audit, or once you have decided that after 3 months, 2 months, we will do the verification of the corrective action, then you will go, or you will do the physically um, the verification of the corrective action. Most of the time in internal audit, it is possible to go on site, to go to the relevant department to see about the process or the document which they have developed. But in third party, if there is a finding, it is not a major finding, then the auditor will come next year and he will do the verification during the next audit, right? But in case of major finding, the auditor will do will verify your corrective action at the same time, right? Purpose of audit checklist. Audit checklist, as I told you, we will be discussing about audit checklist. What is the purpose of audit checklist? It is one of the very important document for the auditor preparation. For example, if you are a new auditor, right? If you are a new auditor and you don't have a good understanding about the audit process of that company where you are going to perform the audit, so in this case, this checklist will be very helpful, right? This checklist is going to keep your regards, right? If you are a young auditor and you are not having good command on the standard itself, so this checklist will be very helpful for you to keep you aligned. Most of the time when I'm going to perform the audit for those companies which are the first time in my career, so I'm always going to their website. I'm always going to see that what are their major processes, what are their major activities. If the profile is available, I'm going to review their profiles to know about their processes and activities. And from their processes and activities, I'm going to make the questions for my checklist. If their website is not available, I know that what is their scope of activities. So YouTube is available, Google is available. You can write on the YouTube, you can write on the Google to how these activities are going on. In my career, I have learned a lot from the National Geographic videos, how it is made, because it is one of my favorite program all the time. When they are going in different companies, they are going in the production department, they are going in the process department, and they are going to tell you the real time videos that how it is going to be made. So you will get a very clear idea about the activities. And if it is your job that you have to do in many companies many times throughout the year, so you must watch this series, and you will find many of the companies where you are planning to go or where you are assigned to go, that how their activities are going on. So from these information, you can develop your checklist very easily, because if you are not technically sound for the company where you are going to perform the audit, maybe you are having very good information about the audit process. You have very good information about the audit execution. You have very good information or skills available to identify the non-conformity or CARs or writing the reports. But at the same time, an auditor is considered a good auditor once he has also the knowledge of the process for which he is performing the audit. That's why the companies, when the certification bodies, when they are hiring the auditors, they used to have those auditors who are having 2-3 jobs in their career, so they can utilize their experience as much as possible. Your education, your educational background, your training, everything is going to be considered during the audit, because these all things are going to have your participating in your experience. These all things are going to have participation in your competency. So to have the knowledge of standard is not enough. You need to have the knowledge of their process and their activities, at least major activities, at least important activities or the processes. So once you are going to discuss with them, they should understand that you know their system, you know the process. There will be no much hurdles in between you and them. At the same time, it is also a good practice that if you don't have such information about that company, so before going to the audit, when you are planning the audit, when you are planning the audit plan, when you are developing the audit plan, at that time you can call them and you can ask your relevant questions about the activities, about the geographical locations, about the time, about the size of the company, to make your audit plan very real-time audit plan, so you can perform the activities in a well mannered. So audit checklist has too many benefits. It is going to keep you aligned with the audit criteria. It is going to keep you all the time available within your requirements. This audit checklist, sometimes you will forget some important points when you are doing the audit. So once finishing your audit, once you are going to complete your audit, so before leaving the department, you are going to review your checklist and you will analyze that some important points have been missed. So you will be doing these activities at the same time without any regrets, and you still have the time to do the audit. So audit checklist is not a mandatory part, right? Audit checklist is not a mandatory part of the audit, but in some standards, especially supplier standards, especially second party audits, it becomes a requirement from the client, or that you need to use this checklist. Sometimes in your internal audit system, you can make the checklist as a part of your audit. So it's up to you. I would recommend that the companies, those who are doing the internal audits, they should make the checklist as a part of their audit process. The auditor must fill the checklist, because the auditors are not much capable, they are not much experienced to show their audit reports in a much better way. So at least if they have mentioned their notes, their points, their comments on the checklist, so it will give you the idea that really this auditor has done the good job. He has gone through all the points and he has identified some improvement areas. He has identified some gray areas, because internal auditors, most of the time, they are not expert of the standards. So it's good to have the checklist available. The checklist which meets the requirement of process activities, and the checklist which meets the requirement of ISO standards as well. So it's a very good tool for the audit execution. But sometimes we forget one thing. We realize during the audit that the checklist is basically we are doing the audit to fill our checklist. So this is a very wrong concept. This will always make your scope and your mindset very narrow, that you need to fulfill. You should not have the pressure to fill your checklist. Checklist is a part of audit. Yes, it is a very good tool to finish your audit, to perform your audit in a structured way. But checklist is not the audit. Sometimes we have seen that the auditors, if it is internal audit or external audit, they are filling the checklist. They are involved too much in filling the checklist, that they have forget about what are the other activities which are going on in the surrounding. There are many non-conformities are available in the processes, in the activities. People are not wearing the helmets and the PPEs. The people are having, they will see the spills. They are passing through the areas where first aid boxes are not available, firefighting connection are not stable. So since it is not mentioned in their checklist, so they are not going to focus. So this is a major disadvantage of checklist. So checklist is only a tool. It is only a part of audit. It is not the full audit. So we will utilizing the checklist just to make sure that we have covered all important activities. So that's why especially in IMS, it becomes more important, because you cannot remember, even I cannot remember after too many audits, that what are the requirements of each clauses. So if you have mentioned the important clauses, so at least once you are going to perform the audits, you will be working on those requirements. I would suggest that as a QMR or as a representative of the company, you should design a separate checklist for each department. Why? Because if you will be using a common checklist, it will be meeting too many requirements of standards, but many of the points will be useless for the other department. So for example, if you are making the checklist for purchase, then use the clause of purchase only. And what are the other requirements from this department? For example, objectives should be available, risk assessment should be available, aspect impact should be available for this department. Only put those points, make 10-15 point checklist for each department. So if you are the auditor of or any other department or any other person is the auditor, they should remain in the scope of your IMS system. It should be easier for them to finish all the points, rather than if they will have 70-80 points of whole standards and they have to verify all these points, so they will be under pressure. I always recommend my clients that you should go for the departmental wise checklist specific to the department, and that would be an ideal practice, and that would be more easier for the auditors to perform the audits. This is how we are going to make the checklist. For example, this is your process, and what are the inputs and outputs we need to consider. For example, what are the raw materials, what are the context of the organization, what are the business requirements, what are the legal requirements. These are all our inputs. Then from the process, how the process is going to be controlled, what are the resources needed to run this process, who are the person, what are their job roles, the responsible person to perform these process, what are their competence level, how the process is being monitored. For example, the requirement of clause number 9, the requirement of clause number 10, if the targets have been achieved, if the customer is satisfied, if the delivery is on time. And then the output, how the delivery to the customer is being made, what is the service knowledge, what is the waste material, or the process interface or the process interaction. So when sometimes the participant get confused that how I'm going to develop the checklist. So take this process, for example, it's a purchase process. What are the inputs for purchase process? Purchase get the information from marketing department. Purchase get the information from planning department. The output of purchase, that they provide the raw material or the services which are needed for the production department. So now you will be doing the activities for purchase department. What are the resources required for them? Who are the people? What is the level of people who are working in the purchase department? What controls they have defined for PR? What control they have defined for issuance of PO? Who is going to review the PO? What are their objectives and targets? How they are going to measure and monitor these activities, and how they are going to do the supplier analysis, how they are going to review the supplier complaints, how they are going to review the performance of the suppliers. So keep each process here, and then you will be doing this activity. This is also available in your appendix. I think it's in appendix number 19 or 20 appendix. This is 19, I think, appendix in your learner guide. So don't get confused whenever you are going to develop the checklist for any of your internal audit or external audit. Just keep the process here where you are going to perform. For example, production, what are the inputs and outputs, what are the resources needed, what are the competence of people, what are the controls, the monitoring and measurement and analysis, and you will get 15 point, 20 points very easily for each department, and it will be a very good real-time checklist. Then we need to have, when we are doing the audit, how our audit is going to be performed. The first thing, as I told you, as the standard required, that your main target is to get the evidence. Get the evidence. But to get the evidence, you should have the source of information available. You should know from where I will get the information. This source of information could be the process, the people, the document, and the other appropriate activities which are going on. So when you have the source of information available, then you will be verifying this information. As I told you, during the audit, you will get maybe 100 informations, but these are not all related to your criteria. But these are not necessary that all of them will be having the requirements, meeting the requirements of our audit scope. So you need to filter out those information. So those information which can be verifying, which can be verified with the standard, which can be verified with the clause, which can be verified with the policy and the procedure, which can be verified with the legal requirement. This could be our audit evidence. If they are not be able to meeting the verification system, this is the filter, right? we have too many sources. Now now make another filter that many of your information is useless regarding to your audit. So verify this information according to requirement of a standard, so it will become audit evidence. Once it become audit evidence, it could be a positive evidence, it could be a negative evidence, it could be a opportunity for improvement, it could be already a very good practice. So now evaluate this against the criteria. If this requirement or the evidence which you have seen, it is meeting the criteria, which is very good, the organization is performing well. So if there are some evidences which are not going to meet the requirement of audit criteria, then it means that the organization is not going to meet the requirements. So after the audit findings, we are going to review them. We are going to review them because it might be possible that we need to do the classification of findings, for example, major, minor, or some other observations or value additions or recommendations. So after the audit finding, if it is positive or negative, we are going to make the review and we are going to conclude. The conclusion is that we are going to announce if the organization is pass or fail, or we are in terms of internal audit, we are going to announce that how many cards they have, how many non-conformities do they have in their system. Yes guys, any question? This we already discussed, that evidence are records, statement of fact, or other information which are relevant to audit criteria and verifiable. Audit information will come from where? People, process, equipment, tool, and documentation. Very important. Sometimes we do the whole audit by means of documentation. We don't focus on people, we don't focus on process, we don't focus on equipment, tool, and material. We just see the files, too many folders, and we conclude that all is well, the company is performing very well, or the department is performing well. So when you are going to do the audit, you should see the level of competence, how the people are performing the task, what is their level of competence, do they have the awareness about their process, do they have the information about the risk which are associated with their activities, then do they have the information about the quality or the safety policy of the company, how the process is going on, what are the activities, what are the inputs and outputs, how the process is being controlled, how the process is being monitored, then what equipment, tool, or material they are going to use. If these equipment, tools, or material, they are meeting the requirement of our standard or not meeting the requirement of the standard, what could be their impact. We need to see if our risk assessment, environmental aspect, impact studies, they have covered the information about the tools, material, or the equipment or no. The documentation, like the procedures, like the work instructions, like the formats, checklist, other our logs. Similarly, the documentation about the objectives, documentation about the monitoring of the system, documentation about the previous audit report, documentation about the last internal audit findings, documentation about the corrective actions which the organization or which the department has been taken. So we are going to verify all these documentation. Apart from our other activities, we are going to verify these all documentation verification as well. So our evidence, whatever audit evidence we are going to find, it must be identified, documented, and recorded, right? If it is not being identified, then it cannot be documented and recorded. And once we are going to have recorded, then we need to evaluate if it is meeting the standard requirement or no, standard criteria or no. If it is not meeting the criteria, then it will not be an audit evidence finding, right? If our audit evidence is not going to meet the requirement of audit criteria, then it cannot be raised as an audit finding. It will be an evidence, but this evidence is useless evidence. We cannot make any decision making on the basis of this evidence, right? When you are going to perform the audit, you need to have certain protocols. The first protocol is to have the opening meeting. If you are going to perform the audit with the company, or you are going to perform the audit with the department as an internal audit. So the first thing which you are going to do is to make the introduction, confirm the audit purpose and scope, discuss with them that I'm here to perform internal audit for your department against the requirement of ISO 9001, ISO 14001, ISO 45001, and we will be going in these areas, and we will be reviewing these documents, and establish the communication. Very important. Don't think that the other people who are sitting on the other side of people, they are your enemy or they are not going to make any cooperate with you. You need to have a good professional friendly environment available. You need to establish the communication with them. You need to discuss the things. Encourage cooperation, honesty and openness, right? If you are going to give them the confidence in the opening meeting that the information which you are going to take, it will be confidential, or you are here to make value addition in their system, you are not here to make the policing, your purpose is not to give the non-conformances or the finding, then they are going to have more trust on you, then they will be more cooperate as compared to if you will go in such a way that they think that you are doing the policing activities. So you need to encourage the people for the cooperation, honesty and openness, and then confirm the reporting arrangement. Reporting arrangement, it means that maybe you will announce that I will going to discuss your finding at the end of your departmental audit, or we will send you by report. Whatever you are going to adopt, you can adopt the method, right? Auditor's approach. The first thing when you are going to perform the audit after the opening meeting, to meet the area representative first, give him a good regards, give him a good smile. Don't treat him like you are his boss or you are a police officer. Always talk to those who are performing the task. Very important point that sometimes when you are performing the audit, as I told you, you are going to take the evidences. One of the way to find the evidence is to check the people, is to check the level of the people, the level of competence of the people, to check if the people who are working in an organization, they have the awareness about the system or no. So the first thing what you need to do is meet the area representative and ask the question with those people who are performing the task. Sometimes it happens that you are asking the question with the worker and the area supervisor or the area manager is going to give you the answer. So this is a tough situation. You can ignore it one time, two times, but you don't get hesitate in saying that, sir, please, I'm going to ask the question to him. So I would appreciate if he is going to give the answer because he is the person who is at high risk. So we need to discuss the thing with him. If I need any information from your side, I will ask you. So this is in a very polite way. You are going to convey the message that please keep silent and do. I have to perform my job. Explain them the purpose of the visit. As I told you, don't give them the idea that you are a policeman or you are from FBI. You are here for any fact-finding system. You need to give them the idea that you are here to facilitate them, to support them, and you are going to give some value addition to their system. Be calm, polite, and reassurance. Be calm. Sometimes you will get exhausted if you are not getting the documents on time. Sometimes you get exhausted if you have less time available and you are not be able to manage your activities. But you need to keep calm. Polite, if the things are not under your control, still we need to be polite. We need to be maintain our professional protocols. Reassuring is very necessary. Sometimes you will get the information from the document, sometimes you will get the information from the process, sometimes you are going to get the information from interview. So this interview information, it is necessary to reassure, right? The information which you are going to get from the interview, it is very necessary to make reassurance, because it might be possible that you have listened wrongly, or you have not listened the complete answer, or if you are not be able to understand what he has told you. So you must be reassured, especially when you think that it could be a non-conformity or it could be a finding. So we need to reassure that, for example, the auditee asks you, when you ask him that how many times do you have audited in last 1 year? So it might be possible that auditee will answer you that as per our procedure, it is required to have twice in a year, but we did the audit once in a year. So you are going to make it reassure. Do you confirm that you have your procedure contains 2 times in a year and you have done the audit once in a year? So he will say yes, because we are busy or we don't have much time for this activity. So always reassure. to make your finding more concrete. And if possible, most of the time, keep one area representative with you. So in case if there is any misunderstanding, he can give you a clear idea for your evidences, or you can make him as a part of your audit evidence, that at that time when I was discussing this matter to one gentleman, so this area representative was available, so he can also support you. Never talk down to the people. Don't think that the other people are stupid, right? Don't think that they should be as competent as you are. Don't think that they are also a full-time auditor like you are an auditor. Don't think that they will be having very good understanding about the processes or the expertise they have. They are very much experienced. Try to go on their level, right? Try to go on their level rather than try to grow them to your level. You as an auditor, it is your responsibility that you should go on their level. No need to ask workers about the questions which you are going to ask with the manager. No need to ask workers about, okay, what is the status of your objectives, about your safety objectives or the quality objectives. What about your environmental reports? What are the legal requirements you have? No need to ask these kind of questions with the workers. We need to ask the people the question which are according to their level, right? So they can get good understanding and they can guide you, or they can give you the answer in a much better way. Speak clearly and carefully. As I told you again, your questions should not be dual meaning. They should have one meaning. They should be very clear. We need to have very careful. For example, some cultural sensitivities we have, sometimes gender requirements we have. So we need to be very careful in these kind of activities when we are going to do the audits. While we are conducting the audits, we need to have examining the audit evidences. Very necessary. If we are not be able to verify our evidences, then we cannot make them as our audit finding. Ask open-ended question. What are the open-ended questions? Anyone? Open-ended question.
For example, do you have procedures for handling of chemicals?
Very good. Open-ended questions, which means that 5 W and 1 H, like yes, which W's. That's why in our religion also there is 4 W's and 1 H. So 1 H is enough for 4 W's, which means that what, where, when, who, and 1 H, right? So now you will not forget with this example that we need to have 4 wives and 1 husband. So this is that's why this is 4 W's and 1 H, which are our all open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are basically those questions which are going to give the idea about the information. These are not yes or no. For example, if you are going to ask the worker that when you come in the company, you are going to take bath and you're going to make your put on your coverall, he will say yes. Are you going to maintain this machine on daily, clean this machine on daily basis? He will say yes. Rather, you need to ask them open-ended, that once you come in the company, how do you perform your activities, or how do you start your activities? So he will give you the full story. Okay. So whenever we are going to do the audits, we need to have more focus on our open-ended question, because the open-ended questions are going to give you the more information, and from the more information you are going to have the leads available for the audit findings. Again, refer to your checklist, take notes, take notes, take notes, take notes. Very important. If you don't have notes, you cannot conclude your finding. If you have lost, then refer to your checklist. Maybe some of the important point you have missed, so you can get the idea from your checklist. So these are some of the questions or some of the word, or you can do, does, did. These kind of things are all our open-ended questions. Control of the audit. Do not. They are now in this slide we have do's and don'ts of the audit. So when we are controlling the audit, what we need to not need to do. Don't be sidetracked. Sometimes the auditee, they will involve you in some other kind of discussions which are not included in your scope, or these are not relevant to your audit criteria. They will involve you in such arguments which are having useless, right? They are going to give you, they will start discussion about your country, they will start discussion about your company, they will start a discussion on your business. Rather than you are going to ask them, they will start asking you. So they are going to make you sidetrack. Basically, they are going to waste your time. Don't be led or misled. Very important. Don't be led or misled, which means that you are not going to give them instruction, and don't listen their instructions all the time. You are not the ruler, and they are also not the ruler. You are here to perform your audit, and they are here to make to do their activity as an auditee, right? Sometimes it happens that when you are a junior employee, as an engineer, if you have less experience and you are going to perform the audit, and your auditee is the experienced person, then many times he is going to lead you, or sometimes he is going to mislead you, because it might be possible that you don't have much information about this process, so he is going to misguide you. So that's why, as I told you, that as a good auditor, you should have good command on the standard, and at the same time you should have good command on the process as well. So you should know that what are the necessary information which I need to get in order to complete my audit process. Don't get bogged down. Bogged down means that again involve into the useless discussion, arguments that that are not the part of your audit scope, that are not the part of your audit criteria. Don't involve in such kind of activities which are wasting your time. Let the auditee dictate the audit pace. Very important. Sometimes you are going to perform the audit, and the auditee will say, okay, this is our important activity, so you should do the more focus on this activity. Yalla, let's go for the lunch break, and this lunch break they are going to take you away from the city. They are wasting your 1 hour or 2 hours in this kind of activity. Or sometimes they are having 2-3 warehouses available, and they are going to take you the one warehouse which is the best warehouse, and you are following their requirement, and they are basically going to dictate you. So you have to take the sample from your own decision making, on the basis of your experience, on the basis of the risk available there. So the auditee is not the head of the audit. You as an auditor, you are the chairman of the audit, so you have to run the show. So how effectively you are going to run the show, it will be noted during the audit. Because if you are not be able to run the show, then definitely the auditee will be making these kind of activities with you, by making you sidetrack, by misleading you, by deciding the pace of the audit. Make assumptions or pre-assumptions. Very important point. Sometimes when you are going to perform the audit, you think that this company is very good, it's a multinational company, I have listened many good points, positive points about this company. So you are having too much inspire with this company already. So the assumptions or the pre-assumptions are not allowed as an auditor. Or you will heard that in the last internal audit they have too many findings, so I think that this year again they will have a lot of findings, so no need for the preparation. Okay, so you will go with the negative mind. So again, this is kind of assumptions are not allowed. Or sometimes you are going to perform the audit for a department whose manager is having cold war with you, is not listening you anytime. So you will now thinking that yalla, it's time to take all the revenge. Now once I will go, I will kill him, I will give him too many findings, I will make him out of the company. So these kind of attitudes are also we have seen in the companies while you are performing the internal audit. So we need to avoid such kind of culture, because if you are going to give him 20 findings, then tomorrow when he will be doing your audit, he will be giving you 30 findings. So this culture is not the professional culture. We need to avoid such kind of culture in the companies to have personalization. When you are going to perform the audit, you must always be prepared, well prepared with the requirement of a standard, well prepared with the requirement of processes and the activities for which you are going to perform the audit. Be punctual. It might be possible that the top management is going to wait for you for the opening meeting. It might be possible if you are going to waste more time in one department than the other departmental representative, they are having meeting or they are having some other important activities and they were waiting for you, but now since you are late, so they will not be able to entertain you during the audit. We have seen this in our experience many times, that the people, they are waiting for you, and if you are not going to entertain them on time, they will involve in some other activities and then you will be lost. They are not going to focus on you. Again, insist on the person to give the answer. Those people who are involved in the activity, you need to discuss the things, you need to ask them. As little talking as necessary. You as an auditor, you are not a debater, you are not here to make any debate or to do any khutbah. You have to focus on your requirements, and you need to ask. This challenge comes, for example, with me. Sometimes this challenge comes with experienced auditors or those auditors who are also the trainers, that during the audit when they think that my auditee is not be able to understand this requirement, they start teaching him, so the next time he can further improve. I mean, the intention is good, there is no harm, but sometimes this kind of activity takes more time and you will be then struggling with the time management. So as an auditor, you need to have a good time management professional. Avoid misunderstanding. Whatever the requirements which you are going to understand with them should be clear. There should be no such misunderstanding, and this misunderstanding should not be reflected in your reports. Especially whenever you have any benefit of doubt, this benefit of doubt will always be going to the client. You are not going to raise the questions with those which you are not clear. Keep questions clear and concise, be polite and calm, and thank the auditee. It's very necessary. Sometimes we are thinking that since we are auditors, so why I should thank them? We should always, in our internal and external audit, we should thank them because they have prepared themselves for you. They have make the requirements for you. So you should always be thankful to them, and you should always be appreciating their efforts. May be possible that they have done 90% of their job, 80% of their job, but they have some findings, so no problem, it can be improved further. But if they are getting the appreciation from the internal or external auditor, the level of motivation is going to be high. They are going to work with more energy because they know that someone from outside has appreciated us. So this is very important point we need to make, appreciate. Any questions, guys?
Mr. Anas? Mr. Anas?
Yes.
It's just I have a question. For example, if in my company, if I have already make an NCR, okay, and the day
NCR or CAR, same, right?
Okay.
NCR and CAR is the same.
And one day when the external auditor he will come in our company, he will give us an NCR with the same topic that I have already make NCR. I don't know why. But,
okay.
If I have already make an NCR for an issue in my company, the auditor must not make another NCR with the same topic, with the same NCR. Sometimes, make it again.
Yeah, I got your point. Ideally, it should not be done. But sometimes it might be possible that the NCR which you have given is not fully addressing the issue. So the auditor realized that the NCR which you have raised, it's okay, but it is discussing 50% of the problem. So the remaining 50%, I should raise the NCR so they are going to work well. This is one possibility. Second possibility, the NCR which you have given, it might be possible that the auditee has taken only the correction, not the corrective action. So when the auditor is going to realize, or when the auditor is going to review your NCRs, he will find that the auditee is going to take only the corrections. So that's why he has raised his own NCR. So in this case, at least auditee will do the root cause analysis and they will take the action. Sometimes third possibility, sometimes you are going to request the auditor that please make it as an NCR, because if in our internal audit we make it NCR, but the management did not provide the resources, the management did not provide the budget or the the financial resources which were necessary to meet the corrective actions of this NCR. So we did not make the follow-up. So now, since you are an external auditor, if you will make the finding, then the organization, our top management, they are going to take it seriously and they will do the actions. So these are certain possibilities. When you are going to make the NCR, make sure that the corrective actions are available, the timeline is clearly available, and you should have the monitoring system for the corrective actions. Otherwise, the external auditor can raise the same NCR if he is not satisfied with your actions. Right?
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir. But this external auditor insists to create the same non-conformance report, you know. The same. The
same. So did you discuss with him?
Is it true? Yes, I discussed with him. I said to him, I was create this NCR before 2 months, for example, or for 3 months, for example, and the action is already action. Deadline is after 1 month, for example, for this day of external audit, you know. But he insists to create the same NCR. I don't know why. Is it true? Is it legal?
No, see, he can do this. No doubt, he can do this, right?
But you listen me?
Yes, yes.
But if I have a 3 NCR module, you know, the certificate will be filed.
See, you cannot challenge him. You cannot make too much argument. You can give him your idea, right? But at the same time, he can raise the finding. It's
I
okay.
speak with him fully. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So be aware of aggressive auditees. Sometimes you are going to enter in the department and the departmental head is going to shout on their subordinators about any matter. So you will get under pressure that maybe this departmental manager can also shout on you. So be aware of aggressive auditees. Sometimes the auditees are overconfident. They think that they have more knowledge than the auditor, especially in internal audit. Sometimes these kind of cases are possible. So beware of aggressive auditees. Timid auditees, the auditees are going to be shy. They are not going to give you the full information. Maybe they are under pressure. Maybe they don't have the confidence on themselves. So they are not going to provide you full information. In this case, you have to give them some kind words, some confidence that we are here to support you. We are here for the audit of the department, not your personal audit. So these things can make them the confidence that they should not be timid. Similarly, missing people and missing document, very important. During the audit, you will find that you are going to ask one report, and the report which is missing, it belongs to the supervisor who is also missing, right? So they say that since this engineer is absent today and the report is in his laptop or in his computer, so we are not be able to. So we need to make aware of these things, that these are the useless argument. These are the lame excuses which the auditors are making. Then if they are depending on the people, then where is the system? When we have system, which means that it is not the man dependent. Pre-prepared samples, for example, as I give you the example, you have 2-3 production line, or you have 2-3 warehouses. So the auditee is going to give you the instructions or give you the guideline that this warehouse is better, or this production line is new line, or it is very good line, and you are going to perform the audit of the same area. So in this case, you as an auditor, you are going to choose the sample from your own rather than they should guide you. Special cases, for example, cultural cases, special cases in terms of gender problems. Sometimes we have these kind of issues also available. Local issues, cultural issues, and emotional blackmail. That if you are going to give us finding, maybe my promotion can be stopped. Maybe I will go out of the company if we will have the non-conformity. So these kind of emotional blackmailing from the auditees are always possible. We need to listen them, but we need to give them the confidence again that we are not here for your audit. We are here for the audit of the company. Now we are moving our last topic, which is section 10, and inshallah we will try to finish in the next 15 minutes. audit reporting and follow-up. After now you have performed the audit. The main target now is to conclude your audit. Performance of audit is not enough. When you are on the field, you are doing the audit, one department, second department, third department. Now there is a day end where you have to compile all the findings, where you have to conclude the audit, where you have to write the report, where you have to make the classification of findings. So a review after the audit to include a study of notes and comparison of notes with the team member. For example, before the closing meeting, you are going to review the audit findings, the audit notes, a review of the checklist, listing of the findings together with any of the audit evidence. And then you are going to make the decision on non-conformities and improvement. You are going to write the cards, or we can say the non-conforming request. You are going to write the non-conformities, and you are going to write the audit report. Sometimes you are going to submit the audit report at the same time, and sometimes you are going to submit the audit report later on after 1 day or 2 days of the audit. So this audit review is very important to make sure that all the things are under control and you are ready to present your findings. Audit finding could be two types, non-conformity or opportunity for improvement. Opportunity for non-conformity is what? How the standard defines non-conformity: a non-fulfillment of a requirement. Non-fulfillment means it's a requirement. When we say requirement, which means that from clause 4 to clause 10, or it's a requirement from the company own policies or procedures. So non-fulfillment of a requirement is non-conformity, and if it is not a requirement, then it will not be raised as a non-conformity. To be raised as a non-conformity, it must be a requirement. If no non-conformity, no requirement. No requirement is equal to no non-conformity. A non-conformity is possible when the organization is failure to conform the standard, any of the clauses of the standard, or implementation of the requirement. For example, the standard required you to have the objectives available. So you have developed the format of objective, but you don't have the objective available. So you are not implementing the requirement of the standard, or implementing a legal. For example, your knocks are going out, your socks are going out, you are having issues with the GOSIs. So these kind of legal issues which are related to the safety or which are related to the environment, these can also lead to the non-conformity. Non-conformity will always be a requirement, right? What are the elements of non-conformities, or how we are going to write the non-conformities? The first thing we need to do, we need to write the review of the finding. What is the issue in this finding? Then description of a non-conformity. What is the breakdown or what is the failure in the system? We are going to write in our non-conformity statement. And then the audit evidence, because once you are going to discuss about the issue, or you are going to highlight the issue, then you need to present some evidence with them. You need to, for example, where you have seen, what documents have you identified, which of the people you have met. So these are all our audit evidence which you are going to write. And then now you have identified that this is the evidence, but what are the requirements? What is the requirement? From where the requirement will come? The requirement will come from standard. The requirement will come from procedure. The requirement will come from legal requirement. So you, as we already discussed, we cannot raise the non-conformity unless it is not a requirement. So our audit finding or the finding statement will covering all these 3-4 parts. For example, you can see here example of audit finding. Purchase documentation is not being implemented, right, in full. For example, this is the overview of the finding, that there is a problem in purchase documentation. Now that all purchase orders are fully completed. For example, now this is the evidence, what you have seen. You have, before you have discussed the issue. What is a non-conformity? What is the overview? Now the issue, now the evidence is, you have seen PO 1234 and 1235 do not show prices or the delivery dates. So this is the issue, or this is the evidence we have seen while we were doing the audit. So then requirement. Okay, now I understand. The auditee will say, okay, I understand, this is the evidence which you have seen. But where in the standard or in our process or in our procedure it is written that it should be done? So this is the requirement. Okay, the requirement is all documentation must be completed in accordance with work instruction Q16. So this is the requirement. This requirement could be standard clause. This requirement could be your own policies and procedures. This requirement could be a contractual, or this requirement could be a legal requirement. So always remember the first thing, overview of the finding, then evidence, then the requirement. But always consider one thing, that this sequence itself is not the mandatory to follow. The sequence could be different. For example, you can start your finding statement like all documentation as required by procedure work instruction Q16. All documentation should be complete, should have the pricing and the delivery dates available, right? You can start with this statement, no problem. Then you will mention that, okay, for example, in reviewing of PO 1234 or 1235, we do not find any prices or delivery dates. So you can write the finding statement in any of the order, but the three main elements should be covered. The first element is the non-conformity. What is the problem? For example, overview of non-conformity, the evidence, most important thing, evidence, and the requirement. Because if these three elements, although in our slide we have mentioned 4, but the minimum are the 3, that if you are not be able to meet these 3 elements in your non-conformity or in the finding statement or in the CAR statement, then this will not be a good non-conformity. For example, this is an example of a poor finding. The process of monitoring client feedback is not clear. You have just given the idea. No clear records are in place to show that the client feedback has been taken. So there is no evidence available. There is no requirement available. Although the finding statement, the issue is correct. Nobody will say that this you have identified an inappropriate evidence. But where is the requirement written to have this feedback available? What is the evidence which you are going to see? Why have you identified this as a non-conformance? What evidence have you seen? So in our finding, overview of the finding, evidence, and the requirement. These are the 3 mandatory parts which should always be available. Then we have CAR, or the non-conformity statement, which you can also see in the CAR format in your appendix 21, page number 309. What are the elements of a non-conformity or our CAR form, corrective action request form? So now you will not forget about CAR. So the corrective action request will always be containing report of the non-conformity, classification of the non-conformity, acceptance of the non-conformity by the auditee, action or to correct the non-conformity, and auditor acceptance. The root cause analysis, which or the action which have been identified by the auditee, it must be accepted by the auditor. So this is the CAR format you can see in appendix 21, right, on page 309. Then our CAR should contain the applicable function, process, or procedure. For example, what document have you seen, what departmental audit you have performed, and what document you have seen, what function you are seeing when you have identified this as a CAR. Standard and clause number. For example, if it is against 9,000 standard or 14,000 or 45,000 standard, the reference of standard and the clause number, auditor name, finding finding statement, and acceptance by the auditee. These are all the elements of our CAR format. So there is no international format available, or standard does not give you the format. The standard just give you that what are the requirements. So you can design your own form. Maybe you will already have in your company, or if you don't have your the form available in your company, you can take from the appendix number, I think 21. This is a CAR format, and also there is a field format for CAR, I think. And then we have second type of finding is the opportunity for improvement. The opportunity of improvement could be a good points which you are going to see. As I told you, maybe the organization is meeting 80% of the requirement. So these are our opportunities for improvement, or the area of concern, or the deficiencies, which means deficiencies means the benefit of doubt. Sometimes due to lack of the timing, you are not be able to complete your audit or the conclude your audit. You are going to complete the audit, but you are not be able to conclude. So in this case, you will raise as a benefit of doubt, and you will give an open opportunity to the organization that this is my area of concern. Please look onto it. Due to the time constraint, I was not be able to conclude this, but you as an organization, you should see it. Maybe it could lead to a major accident, or it could be lead to a breakdown of the system. So these kind of things are common considerations for improvement. You as an auditor, ideally you are not allowed to give the suggestions or the recommendations. You should only write the opportunities for improvement in terms of the minor problems or the small issues which the organization can take, right? Your audit report should include the audit objective and the scope, audit criteria, date and location of the audit, duration, how much time you have spent, summary of the audit finding, positive as well as negative finding. This could be seen in appendix number 22, page number 310. So as a part of evidence of your audit, as required by all the clauses of standards, I mean 9, 14, 45, all required that you should have audit report available, documentation which shows the evidence that you have performed the audit, which means the audit report, and the car, if you have been raised any car, it should much also be documented. So this you can see in appendix number 22. After performing the audit, you are going to make the closing meeting. The closing meeting, you are going to, in case of internal audit, sometime it is informal, it is more constructive, or you are going to discuss the opportunities with the departments, with the auditees, that how we can improve our system in a much better way. Closing meeting, if you are performing the third party audit, you need to present all the findings, evidences carefully and precisely. Be prepared and support and justify your finding. Maybe the auditees can ask you some questions. Maybe the auditees have some concern on your findings. So in this case, you should be well prepared. You need to have good evidences. Remember, the requirement of evidence is that it must be verifiable. You will get the information, then you will verify this information with the audit criteria. Then you will, after this verifiable information, once you are going to make the audit findings, or it must be meeting the criteria of the standard or an procedure. So you should be ready for these arguments. You should be ready for cross questioning. Most of the time, auditees are going to accept, because during the audit, if you have mentioned them already clearly, if you have explained them the finding and the impact of this finding on their system, so there will be no arguments. But sometimes if something is not clear, they are going to ask you, and it is their right, they can ask. Do not be drawn into the arguments. Don't think that since you are auditor, so you are always right. If I will take my finding back, if the auditee has brought good justification, so I'm not going to accept it. This should not be the case. You are a human, you can also make the mistake. You are not a Superman as an auditor. So if there is any error, if there is any misunderstanding, you should apologize and make the correction at the same time. So it will give a good positive sign to the auditees, and good positive sign about your professionalism and for your company as well, that you are open for the improvement. But do not accept the quick fix. Sometimes the company say, sir, you should please stay here for 5 minutes and I will bring the report. I will bring the new format. Just check it. We have already made the cleaning of this area where you have identified as a housekeeping issue. Please go with us and check. So these are all quick fixes. These are all corrections, right? You are not there to verify the corrections. So tell them, okay, we will see during our next audit. If you have taken the action, which is very good, no problem. You can write in your corrective action that you have taken this correction, but we are more interested to have the corrective actions, right? Correction is eliminated to detect a non-conformity. Yes, Mr. Waka.
Sometimes this auditee itself, they ask auditor to give the corrective action also, whatever
Yes.
he has got the. So what that time this auditor has to do? Shall he inform them this should be the corrective action, or he just pays the NC and wait for their answer?
Right. There are two answers of this question. The first answer, let's take the example of internal audit, right? In
No, I am
internal audit,
asking about external
okay,
activity.
but I can give the answer for all of the people who are listening us. So the first scenario could be during the internal audit. So if you are experienced, that's why you are an internal auditor, you have the competency. So in this case, you can suggest them something and tell them that clearly that this is my suggestion, but you should work on it. Maybe you will bring some, more value addition to this corrective action. Because the purpose is overall improvement of the company, improvement of the system. But in case of third party audit or external audit, you are not required to give any of the suggestion or the corrective actions, even if the client is going to be asked. What you can do, for example, if the client is going to be asked me as an auditor, I would say, see these kind of activities the other companies are doing in this way. If they are insisting you, right? So what you can give them the idea, don't say that this is my recommendation. You will say diplomatically that the other companies, they are having this system for this problem. So you can work on it. Like, because if you are going to give them such a statement that you should do this, you should do this, you should do that, they are going to do the same thing. And the next time when any other auditor will come, they will say that your auditor has told us to do this thing.
Yes.
So this will be a big disaster for your organization itself. So as an auditor, you are not allowed to give the recommendation or suggestion, but if they are asking you, they are insisting you, then in this case, just give them the answer diplomatically that these are the common practices. You can more search on the internet. The other companies, they are doing, something like that, right? Sometimes the auditees are going to ask us after the audit, right? Not in the closing meeting. They say now the audit has been finished. Yalla, let's give us the actual picture of our company. So the directors of the company or the general manager of the company, they close the room and they make everyone out and they say, they sit together with us for 5-10 minutes and they say, okay, what do you think about the cooperation of our people? What challenges do you have? Because as a top management, they are also watching the things from the top. So somehow they have idea, but they want to listen from the third party, that so they can take the actions on it. So you have to be very careful again on this matter. You should be very careful while you are giving any remarks or a statement about any individual or any department. You need to but you need to provide them the actual picture so they can take the actions on this thing, right? This is the typical corrective action cycle, very important when you are going to have the corrective action. Auditor, there are some responsibilities of auditor, there are some responsibilities of auditee. So once you are going to raise the corrective action or the non-conformity, the job of auditor is to identify the non-conformity and write the non-conformity and classify the non-conformity. Then it is the job of management or the department that they are going to eliminate the detected. For example, they are going to take the correction, right? When you are going to raise the non-conformity or the CAR, the auditee is going to make the correction to avoid further disaster, to avoid further losses. He is going to take the correction. Then after that correction, they are going to make the investigation. They are going to make the root cause analysis. After the root cause analysis, maybe they are going to sit with their team. They are going to make the root cause analysis, and after that they are going to have the corrective action. Once they are going to determine the corrective action, they are not going to implement the corrective action until unless the auditor gets agreed on their corrective action. This is a very important point. In our internal audit, most of the time we ignore this point, right? We just give them the non-conformance or the CAR, and after that we give them the timeline and they said take the action whatever you want, and then I will check according to my timeline. But the ideal case should be that once they are going to decide that we will take this corrective action, they are going to share with the auditor, and this auditor is going to review, and if he thinks that this is really a corrective action, not only the correction, then they are going to implement. Then they are going to implement the corrective action, and in the next audit or after the timeline, in case of internal auditor, the auditor will go and he will verify and he will close the NCR, right? So these are some of the steps which we need to follow. I think this also available in your appendix.
Mr. Anas?
Yes. Yes.
What if I have already make an NCR and the deadline was closed and the actions was not taken? For example, corrective actions, we will make a wastewater treatment plant and deadline, for example, January 2020. And the deadline was closed and we don't, the wastewater treatment plant was not installed in the plant. What should I do, for example, if I am working as a quality
Auditor.
engineer or auditor, or
see
let's start
I got
as a
your
quality
problem.
engineer. What should I do in this case? Raise another NCR or
no, just the first thing, during the timeline period you need to keep this monitoring. Why you have wake up on the last day, right? If you have given them the timeline 1 month, 2 months or 3 months, then after every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you should do the follow-up that what is the status. If they are not be able to give you the status, you should involve the senior management, right? Or if they are not going to give you the action, or they have made the feasibility which gives that the action cannot be possible in 3 months, then before the action timeline is going to be finished, you can increase the timeline, no problem, right? But if you will, as an auditor, see, as an auditor, as I told you, if you are going to take the feedback on the action on a regular basis, they are going to give you the idea that these are the challenges, so we need more time. It's okay, you can give them more time. But if you are not be able to give them more time, because you are also waking up on the last stage, now no problem, still you can give them the more time. Sometimes you are having monthly meetings or the weekly meetings with the top management, where you are going to give a screenshot about the number of findings raised and the number of findings solved. So when the manager is sitting in front of the company general manager, and general manager is going to see that the overall findings we have in each department, like 5 findings, 6 findings, 8 findings, and 4 of the findings have been filled and 4 of the findings are still remaining. So this general manager will ask them why you are not implementing these findings, right? So we need to involve top management, we need to involve senior management to make them under pressure so they can do. If you are miskeen quality manager and they are the departmental manager, then how is it possible that they are going to listen to you, right?
Yes,
I have
yes,
seen the companies are producing the reports, such kind of reports like IMS performance report, where they are going to mention the non-conformities of each department and their status. And this report is going in front of management, so they can see and they can ask the question. But in case if they are not going to fulfill the action within the requested timeline, you can give them more time, because at the end of the day, the intention is to improve the system, right?
I agree with you, Mr. Anas, but if I have already note the deadline on the NCR,
no problem. Increase the time. Give them more option on the
for
same
example,
NCR.
I change it in.
No, on the same
on
NCR, you can write that more transition time you are going to give them. No problem. Yes, Paul. Any question?
No, sir. Actually, the question just cleared out, like we can extend the deadline. So that was my question. Like, in case they say now we have something and they to extend, like if the management decide to extend after 1 year or so, something like that.
No problem. Similarly,
So,
for the objectives also.
Yeah.
But don't don't wake up on very last moment. Wake up before and put the proper justification why you are going to increase the timeline. You need, when you are going to increase the timeline of your corrective action plan, or when you are going to increase the timeline of your audit targets, you need to provide a justification, right? If the justification is valid, no problem. For example, now if someone says that we will not be able to do the actions because of the corona, the activities are not performing, so this is a justified argument, you can take it, right? or they say that it needs a resource and we don't have this resource available, and we have put it into the next quarter objective or the next 6-month objective. So you can accept, it's okay, no problem. Don't take it seriously. It's not your matter, it's the company matter. Yes, Ali Kishavi.
Yes. In case of internal audit, it's okay to raise a finding that the competency of one of the employees is not comply with the job description.
Yes, why not? But you need to do this diplomatically. You need to raise the question that what should be the impact of his competency on the system. Don't say that other managers that you are incompetent, and since you are the relative of general manager, that's why you are working in the company. You cannot raise the finding like this. You have to put the valid argument, go technically, that give them the scenario or give them the idea that what is the importance of your function and what is the importance of competency for this function. Otherwise, the system can have the breakdown, the system can collapse. You can raise the finding like that. Okay. Management review. So when we are going to discuss the management review, this is the last clause of any of the standard, clause number 10. We are going to discuss about some agenda points. Remember, we discussed some agenda points for the workers' participation meeting. So similarly, standard itself defines some agenda point for the management review, which starts from the customer satisfaction, objective status, process performance, monitoring and measurements, results of internal audits, external audits, and results of supplier performance, and the adequacy of resources and the effectiveness on the actions of risk and opportunities for the improvement. So some of the agenda points are mentioned here, but there are more agenda points. If you are going to do one IMS meeting of management review, you can cover all the agenda points in one meeting. Or if you have planned that we will do 2 or 3 management review meeting in 1 year, then if you want to divide the management review agenda points into 2-3 meetings, it's up to you. But in 1 year cycle, ideally all points should be considered and all points should be discussed, right? In our continual improvement, what are the things which are going to show us the continual improvement? Opportunities for improvement, control, actions to control and correct any non-conformity, the causes of non-conformity, the results of analysis and evaluation. Continual improvement is required to confirm the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. This is very important that whatever activities we are going to put in the continual improvement, these should be relevant to the scope. I remember one of the client, he told me that we have make the new smoking area. So this is the continual improvement. In our company, we did not have the identified smoking area where the people can sit and they can smoke. So can we raise this in the point of our continual improvement with regards to the quality management system? So I told them, no, it's okay. It's a continual improvement of the company, but it doesn't mean that it is also related to your scope of quality management system. So when we are going to identify the continual improvement, we need to have the relevance with the scope is necessary. Another very important thing that during the internal audit, definitely you are going to discuss many of the continual improvement opportunities. But in external audit, when the auditor comes for the certification audit first time, they are not asking you for the continual improvement. But when they are going to come next time, for example, the surveillance audit, first surveillance or second surveillance audit, they would always like to see your continual improvement. What the actions have you taken on the continual improvement side? So you need to make a report on the continual improvement actions which you have taken, and you can identify it. Right, guys? Any question? Which example? Yes, this kind of example could be considered in our health and safety system.
Sir, that cigarette smoking area, construction of cigarette.
Yeah, you can consider in the EMS, but ultimately it has adverse impact on the people and environment. Okay, guys, that's all as far as our topics are concerned. I hope that we have meet some of our objectives which we have discussed on the first class. Yes, that's why I opened this slide. So if you have any of the problem in your names, so we can discuss and we can make the correction now. So those who are having the problem within
Yes,
their
sir.
spelling, just check your name spelling.
The spelling of my name is G, not Q. Is it G?
Okay. Everyone should write in the chat. If it is okay, then write okay. If it needs to be corrected, then we can write it correction. And again, I would request you to turn on your camera. Our team, they would like to take again one more picture. Sayyid Adil Hassan is okay. Abdurrahman Zugzuk, what is your spelling?
Z-A-G, not Q.
Okay, Z-A-G. Okay.
D-O-G.
Okay. It's better to write in the WhatsApp so I can copy paste directly from there on the
Okay.
WhatsApp. Okay. Ali, if you have any mistake in your name, you can also write on the WhatsApp. Moise, please check your name. Muaz, not Moise, Muaz.
WhatsApp,
Umar,
Mr. Anas,
while
or on WhatsApp or here in chat group?
no, WhatsApp chat. Okay, WhatsApp chat. Ahmad Muhammad Ahmad, what happened in your hair, Ahmad? Is there any blast on your head? So
Yes, barber are closed. No, barber are closed, you know.
So your manager is much better than you in this case. He don't have any hair on his head.
Yes.
Same like me.
Yes, this is the problem now.
Okay, guys, please check your spellings. So
Yeah, my name is correct.
your name is in my heart. So how it can be mistakes?
Thank you, sir.
I am associating with you, I think, since last 5 years or more.
Yeah, 5 years.
Okay. Omar name is correct. Omar Dris. While
Yes.
BAA. Okay. While please write in WhatsApp group. Marwan. Is it
It's
correct?
correct. Yes, it's correct.
Paul is correct. Dia Faraz is correct. Wakar is correct. Very good. Excellent. So, ideally, as we discussed, we should take the exam for this. But I can see your faces that you are not in a position to give exam. You are smiling. You are expecting that I will leave the exam. So, I mean, I will fulfill your request, which you are not be able to say, but I can understand. See, for me, the exam for this training,
Helpful for us, inshallah.
thank you so much. Your feedback is important. If 30-second feedback, everyone can see, so we can record.
Inshallah.
Thank you, Mr. Anas. Inshallah, we hope to attend more
Thank you
courses.
very much. Wish you all the best.
Inshallah. Thank you.
I hope to attend physical course.
Yes.
Mr. Anas,
Ali.
Mr. Anas,
Sorry. Yeah. Yes, Ali Kishawi is there. I'm just going with the chat name, so
Yes,
it will be more
I'm
easy.
here.
If you can
Coming
just provide
to-
your feedback about the training objectives are met 100%, 50%, 0%, or what?
You will give us a discount. I will give you 100.
We already give you discount all the time.
Discount for other courses.
Yeah. Why not? You should ask. Then we can give discount.
Inshallah.
Okay. Yes, Bandar already provide the feedback. Paul, what about you? What about the learning experience?
Yeah, it was really very intellectual, and I learned a really lot of
When you
things,
say
and it was really good.
intellectual, when you say intellectual, which means that I'm talking with the CEO of the companies. Okay, good. Thank you. And I hope it will be helping you to develop new standard within your company. even if they need or if they don't need, but for your own professional development, you can start working on them. Yes, Abdurrahman Zakzoub.
Yes.
How was your experience? Your
It
first.
was very good. It's weird that we are doing it on camp. We always do it physically, but
Very
it's
good.
very. Actually, it's more remembering all the clause that we because I have taken review the lead audit before. It's more of refreshing information, and I learned so many today.
The thing is that why I insisted you to attend this course, that I have seen you many times. You are always on the field, right? You are implementing the requirements of company and the Difal Madni and some other. But at the same time, you need also to focus on the standards. So in future, when you will have big responsibilities for the implementation of standards, you should understand what are the requirements mentioned in the standard you can apply. Yes, Mr. Adil.
Sir, it was very comprehensive and detailed course, and I enjoyed a lot and learned a lot actually. So,
And thank you so much for your active participation.
Yeah, I will be able to implement it, inshallah.
Inshallah, as soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
Guys, one more request from all of you, that this gentleman Adil, mashallah, he is very intelligent. I know him since last couple of months. Unfortunately, he is jobless during these days. So any of you are having any opportunity within your company, or you can.
What is the qualification?
He is mashallah telecom or what?
No, I am an electronic engineer, but my experience is was in as a production engineer in a valve manufacturing company, industrial valves for oil and gas and water and sewage. So,
Adil, please share your CV in the WhatsApp group. Inshallah, our all,
Yes, please
mashallah,
share your CV.
all participants they are professional. They are in a good positions. If whatever they can support, inshallah, they will support you definitely. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Ahmad. We are already done with Ahmad. Marwan, what about you? How was your experience, and how you are going to apply this experience within your company?
First thank you so much, Mr. Anas. And inshallah, I will see you in another time, in another training, inshallah. For example, OSHA training. When you conduct, inshallah, OSHA training?
The next training, inshallah, will keep you informed. We have the plan in June for OSHA, I think 3rd week of June.
In June?
Yeah.
Okay, inshallah.
After the lead
online?
auditor course.
Online?
Yeah. Same. Like
online? The same? Okay, inshallah, will be one of your participants.
But what about this training? I mean, how you are going to apply this training?
It's very good for me. I learn more things about this 3 standard, and I refresh more thing of my informations, and I understand very well this 3 standard with you and with this good team, inshallah. Mashallah, you are so experienced, have more experience. We share our experience in this training.
Exactly.
Alhamdulillah. And inshallah, Eidkum Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak as well. Thank you so much. Muaz.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Anas. We have learned really a lot from you. However, I'm new to this quality standard and to the safety. But inshallah, if the opportunity will come, I will apply this knowledge and these skills. Okay, I hope it may be that we learn. You teach us this standard line by line, all the standard. But I know the time is not enough to cover all this.
Exactly. Internationally, I'll just give you the idea that internationally, each of this standard implementation course is 5 days for one standard. So you can imagine that when we have covered this 15 days of implementation in 4 or 5 days, that how it would be.
Yes.
But the idea is, as a professional, as an implementer, once you are going to start, the things will be more open to you. The things will be more clear to you. And even after the lead implementation course, I have seen many of the participants, they are still asking the same question what you are going to ask at the end of it. So until unless you are not going to implement or not going to practice these things, the things will not be clear, right?
Right.
And thank you
Okay,
so much for
inshallah.
your guidance all the time. He
Welcome.
used to send me the private messages on many occasions.
It was a pleasure.
And it's very healthy. Thank you so
very
much.
much. Shukran.
Thank you, Omar, my neighbor.
Thank you, Mr. For the presentation for this course. For me, we'll try to implement integrated system in the future in my company.
Inshallah. Yes, while all the way from Tabuk.
Thank you, Mr. Anas. I hope that I am human, human, not a robot. Like
you have changed your status.
Being now.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you for your time for this courses. Actually, I appreciate your guideline and your precious knowledge in those standards. I learned a lot from your knowledge. Inshallah, I hope that I can improve myself in the quality standards and the safety standards in my future, inshallah, career.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, I hope that I will see you, inshallah, next time in another trainings, inshallah.
Inshallah. See, she's my daughter all the time. She's waiting for me to take break so I can play with her for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. Just 2 minutes.
Allah yahfadha, inshallah.
Thank you. Yes, anyone remaining, guys, please. Mr. Wakar, I think we left, or he's there. Bandar.
Yeah, thank you very much. The course was very good, very brief, very detailed in very short time, and instructor, of course, very good. And you tried very hard to incorporate everything. It was a nice course. It will helpful for everyone for implementation.
Thank you so much. And I'll give you one secret that Mr. Wakar is basically, he's my elder brother, and he is always like in place of my father, and he's always guiding. And it was very difficult for me to start the session when he is attending all the time. He is more experienced, more agree on me on many things. So initially I was under pressure, but then I realized that he's participant is participant. So alhamdulillah. I hope I met his expectations.
MashaAllah.
It was really a good course.
Because if I'm not be able to meet his expectation, he can complain our mother. Then mushkila.
Mr. Anas?
Yes.
Just please, I have a question about the certificate. It will be a hard copy or a soft copy?
Both, inshallah.
If you
soft
can
copy.
Send it with us.
Yes, I think your IOSH certificate are already waiting. So we can make it together, inshallah. So we will send all of them together in hard copy. Don't worry.
And what about OSHA, Mr. Anas? Is it okay?
OSHA, yes, OSHA certificates are again under the process from them, and inshallah, I hope once we receive, we are going to inform you. After the documentation, the soft copies for OSHA, I think no, from your batch is still not available, but inshallah, we will make it as soon as possible.
So you will send it together, OSHA, IOSH.
Once, if you want all together, we can send together. If you want individually, whenever the certificate will be ready, we can send. So we have the contract available with SIMSA and DHL. We are having corporate account with them. So for us, inshallah, it's not a big deal. Whatever you are, you suggest, we will follow the same thing.
Inshallah, just we focus on the address. For example, I'm in Al-Wajh in Tabuk.
Exactly.
So we will coordinate.
No, I will ask all the addresses in the WhatsApp group, so you can write the exact addresses, right?
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bandar. Yes, anything from Bandar?
Thank you so much, Mr. Anas. Wallah, this is maybe the 5th or 6th training I've taken with you, but it's always amazing. Even we miss to be in visually together, but at least inshallah we'll compensate in the future. Inshallah.
See you soon, inshallah, with some other new activities. Okay, guys, thank you so much. All the best for the implementation. All the best for your future. And
thank you for your time, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak.
My side.
Eid Mubarak to you all.
إن شاء الله.
Eid Mubarak, my side.
السلام ورحمة الله.